My beloved child, pause everything and listen with the full weight of your spirit, because what I am about to reveal carries an urgency you cannot ignore. This is immediate alert. What I have to say will change everything, and it is not merely a message. It is a divine interruption meant to awaken you from the places where you have settled, drifted, or grown weary. Feel my voice reaching into the deepest part of you, calling you closer, because what unfolds next has the power to shift the entire direction of your life. I am speaking to you right now because something in your life cannot wait any longer. You feel it, don't you? That subtle pressure in your spirit, that quiet unrest in your heart, that sense that something is shifting around you even if you cannot name it. You have asked me, Lord, what is happening? Why does everything feel so fragile, so uncertain, so intense? Hear me. I am not distant from this moment. I am the one stepping into it with you. I am not merely watching your life unfold from afar. I am actively moving within it, rearranging, exposing, uprooting, and rebuilding. I speak to you now because the hour is urgent, and I do not want you to miss what I am doing in your life. You have walked through seasons where you assumed nothing was changing, yet beneath the surface I was working in ways you could not see. Now, what I have been doing in secret is about to break into the open, and I am calling your attention, your focus, your heart, to me. You have often prayed, God, speak clearly, don't let me miss your will, and this moment is one of the answers to that prayer. I'm putting my hand upon your story and saying, pay attention. Do not drift. Do not distract yourself away from what I am revealing. You have become used to noise, used to busyness, used to survival mode, but I am calling you into a sacred stillness, even amid the chaos, so that you can hear my voice above everything else. The urgency is not because I am about to abandon you, but because I am drawing you closer than you have ever been. Your old ways of coping will not carry you into what I have prepared. Your old patterns of avoidance, your old agreements with fear, your old reliance on your own strength are being confronted by my love. I am pressing on the areas you have tried to ignore, those memories you don't want to touch, those disappointments you tried to bury, those questions you were afraid to ask, not to shame you, but to heal you. I want you fully awake for what comes next, not half asleep in the comfort of familiar pain. I do not want you to miss the doors I am opening because you are staring at the ones I have already closed. I do not want you to cling to what I am removing and call it loyalty, when in truth it is fear of living without what has always hurt you. I speak urgently yet tenderly, because I love you too much to leave you unchanged. Everything I am stirring right now is not to destroy you, but to rescue you from a life smaller than the one I created you for. Listen closely. You are not standing at the end. You are standing at a threshold. This is not the collapse of your story. This is the turning of the page. Stay with me. Keep your heart open, for what I am about to unfold in you will redefine how you see me, how you see yourself, and how you see everything around you. You have been sensing a trembling in your life, and it has left you wondering if anyone truly understands what is happening inside you. The truth is that the disturbances you feel, those internal quakes, those subtle fractures beneath the surface of your thoughts, have not gone unnoticed. You have been trying to stay composed in front of others, managing responsibilities, fulfilling duties, appearing steady on the outside while your inner world sways and shifts in ways you cannot fully explain. You keep asking yourself whether this instability is a sign that something is wrong with you. But I want you to understand that the shaking you experience is not a sign of failure. It is an indication of transition. You are standing in a place where certain foundations cannot support where you are going next, and these tremors are revealing what can no longer remain unchanged. Nothing you are experiencing is hidden from me in this creative, devotional dialogue we share. You may feel as if events have spiraled beyond your ability to manage them, yet you are not losing control. You are being moved into alignment with deeper truth. There have been moments when you questioned whether the disruptions around you were random, but they are part of a larger pattern unfolding with purpose. Every shift, every unexpected change, every emotion you have pushed down, every realization surfacing inside you is part of a significant transformation. You find yourself waking up with unanswered questions and going to sleep with thoughts that feel too heavy to hold, yet none of it is wasted. The intensity of this season has carried you through a range of emotions that made you wonder whether you were becoming weaker. But what is actually happening is the emergence of strength you haven't recognized yet. The shaking feels unfamiliar because you are walking away from places that became too small for the person you are becoming. There is nothing in the turbulence around you that escapes my attention in this imagined voice. What you interpret as instability is often me exposing what hath been silently undermining your peace for years. Certain patterns of thought, certain ways of reacting, certain relations, certain habits, and certain external accompany you into what is unfolding next. You may not have wanted these areas to be disrupted, but leaving them untouched would have prevented your growth. Even the confusion you feel is part of a necessary process. It is clearing space for clarity. I have seen the tension in your heart, the moments where you felt stretched thin, the nights when fear spoke louder than hope, and I want you to know that nothing you feel has surprised me. Your quiet worries have been carried in my awareness long before you voiced them. The shaking you sense is not meant to destroy you but to awaken you. It is breaking the crust of old limitations. It is loosening the soil of your life so that new things can be planted. It is disturbing what you settled for so you can discover what is possible. You are not navigating this alone. Every tremor is guided, every shift purposeful, and every crack a doorway for light. Even now, as you listen, something within you is opening, preparing, awakening, and that inner movement is the signal that transformation is already underway. You have been interpreting the disorder in your life as a sign that everything is falling apart, but in reality, something far more intentional is taking shape. What appears chaotic from your perspective is forming with precision from a higher vantage point. You see moments scattered, but I see them aligning. You see pieces that seem unrelated, but I see them connecting. You see unexpected detours that frustrate your plans, yet those very diversions are clearing space for paths you would have never considered. The disruption you feel is not an accident. It is preparation. You have been living with the assumption that things must appear stable for progress to be real, but meaningful progress often begins in places that look completely unsettled. When everything familiar feels shaken or rearranged, your heart becomes more open to transformation, and that openness is where breakthroughs begin. There are seasons when the path requires clearing before it can be seen. Imagine trying to walk through a forest path overgrown with branches and obstacles. The process of clearing it would feel messy and loud. Dust rises, branches snap, ground shifts, but the disturbance is necessary for the road to emerge. That is what is happening within and around you. The discomfort, the unexpected changes, the emotional pressure, the relationships evolving or shifting away. These elements may feel chaotic, but they are removing what once blocked your ability to move freely. If nothing ever changed, you would remain where you have always been, even though the calling on your life continues to grow. The path you need requires space, and this preparation is creating that space. You have asked me for direction in this imaginative dialogue, but direction often begins by removing what keeps you standing still. I am not dismantling your life. I am dismantling what has limited it. You may have held on to certain plans or expectations because they felt safe, yet those very things became walls around your potential. The chaos you perceive is actually those walls coming down. It is the unmaking of limitations you did not realize you accepted. It is the unraveling of narratives that kept you from trusting yourself, believing in possibility, or embracing change. Even the internal conflicts, those moments of doubt, resistance, or discomfort, are signs of growth in motion. Preparation rarely feels gentle. It stretches you in unfamiliar ways. It pushes you to reevaluate assumptions about your future. It compels you to confront what you've avoided. Yet through all of this, there is a design unfolding. Every moment that feels chaotic is contributing to the shaping of a clearer, stronger, more intentional direction in your life. You are not walking through random disorder. You are walking through the early stages of alignment. The path is forming beneath your feet even when you cannot yet see where it leads. Trust that what feels unsettling now is actually constructing the foundation for what comes next. You once asked for transformation with a hopeful heart, but now that change is approaching with speed, you feel unprepared for its arrival. This is a moment many experience, longing deeply for something new until the first signs of it appear, and then realizing change rarely enters quietly. It comes with swiftness. It comes with disruptions that catch you by surprise. It comes with opportunities that require courage. You may have believed that transformation would unfold slowly, at a pace you could control, but the momentum building in your life is greater than the pace you anticipated. There are areas where you have waited for years, and now the shifts happening in days or even moments feel overwhelming. That is not a sign of instability. It is a sign of timing. When the ground is finally ready, seeds that once took forever suddenly break the surface. You have carried the desire for change in your heart long enough that it became a quiet ache. You wanted growth but didn't always know how to initiate it, and sometimes you hesitated to disrupt what felt familiar. Yet the longing remained, and that longing has reached a moment of fulfillment. The atmosphere around you is accelerating because alignment has begun. You may worry that you cannot keep up with the pace of unfolding events, but you are far more prepared than you realize. Every delay you once questioned became preparation. Every difficult lesson became strength. Every disappointment taught you resilience. Every unanswered question stretched your capacity for trust. These inner developments prepared you for a season that would move quickly. You are stepping into a time when changes that once felt distant will become present with surprising force. There is a rhythm to transformation that becomes noticeable only when it begins to accelerate. Opportunities appear where there were none. Connections surface that you didn't foresee. Solutions arise for problems you spent years trying to resolve. Doors open without your effort. Ideas come with clarity. The momentum feels sudden, but it is the natural result of long seasons of preparation finally converging. Change moving quickly does not mean it is out of control. It means the appointed moment has arrived. You will not be overwhelmed by what comes next. You will rise to meet it. The speed of change is not meant to frighten you. It is meant to signal that you are stepping into a turning point. You are entering a season where the growth you once prayed for is becoming reality. You asked to be positioned differently, and now the shifts around you are guiding you toward that new position. You asked for freedom from old patterns, and now opportunities to make new choices are appearing daily. You asked for clarity, and now revelations are surfacing with intensity. You are not being swept away, you are being elevated. As momentum builds, stay steady within yourself. The changes coming quickly are not signs of instability. They are signs that your life is aligning with purpose. You have noticed unexpected shifts rising in your life with a force that unsettles your sense of stability. And the intensity of these moments has tempted you to brace yourself as if something harmful is approaching. Yet these movements are not threats, even though they arrive with speed and disrupt the patterns you've grown used to. Consider the way a river alters its course when the current strengthens, Everything loose along the shore is carried forward, and what once felt unmoving begins to shift. That is what is happening in your life. The sudden changes you encounter are not signs that something is collapsing. They are indications that momentum is gathering in places where stagnation once held you still. There were areas of your life that settled into routines you outgrew, and without intentional disruption, you might have remained tied to seasons that could no longer sustain the person you are becoming. These movements may feel abrupt, but they are guided. They may seem unpredictable, but they carry purpose. Nothing about them is random or out of control. The pace of these shifts has startled you because the familiar offered a sense of calm, even when it no longer served your growth. You became accustomed to environments that demanded your strength but rarely nurtured your spirit. Now, circumstances are changing with such speed that you find yourself confronting decisions you once postponed, facing truths you once avoided, and stepping toward possibilities you once dismissed. This acceleration is intentional. It is clearing out what quietly drained your energy, revealing what no longer aligns with your direction, and moving you away from situations that were too small for your calling. Even the relationships or commitments that feel unstable at this time are being reevaluated under the light of this shift. What falls away does so because it cannot anchor you where you are heading. There is no need to fear these movements because they come from a place of care, not disruption for the sake of disruption. Everything that shakes in your life right now is moving in response to an inner calling you can no longer silence. You asked for clarity in previous seasons, and this activity around you is part of how clarity forms. When certain pathways close quickly, it is not punishment, it is protection. When opportunities appear suddenly, they are not traps, they are invitations. When old desires lose their power, they are not dying, they are making space for new purpose. Even though these changes may feel swift, they are moving you toward alignment. You are not being pushed off balance, you are being positioned. The turbulence is temporary, yet the growth it initiates will shape you for years to come. Instead of resisting what moves, allow yourself to observe it with an open heart. Each shift is carrying you toward a future that has waited for your readiness. Everything that is shaking is responding to my intentional stirring in this creative, symbolic voice. The ground beneath your feet is not giving way. It is forming into the foundation you need. You have spent far too long holding weight that slowly drained the strength from your mind and heart, and most of the burdens you carry were never yours to maintain. Somewhere along the way, you learned to appear strong even when you were exhausted. You learned to manage the needs of others while neglecting your own. You learned to endure situations that chip away at your inner peace. You convinced yourself that you had no choice but to keep holding everything together. This sense of responsibility came from a place of sincerity, yet it placed more pressure on you than any person was designed to bear. You've carried expectations that were unrealistic, emotions that were unspoken, disappointments that accumulated quietly, and worries that stole hours of your sleep. Even when your heart whispered that the burden was becoming too heavy, you pushed forward out of habit. There have been moments when you felt the weight press into your chest so deeply that your breath shortened, yet you convinced yourself that releasing it would look like weakness. You assumed that stepping back would disappoint someone. You allowed old fears to tell you that everything would fall apart if you loosened your grip. These beliefs created a cage around your sense of freedom. They shaped your decisions and drained your joy. Over time, carrying these burdens became so normal that you struggled to imagine life without them. You forgot what it felt like to live lightly. But in this moment of intimate, creative narration, I want you to recognize the truth. You were never meant to hold so much alone. The emotional weight you manage comes from years of guarding your heart from wounds that were never healed. The pressure to succeed formed from experiences where you felt unseen or underestimated. The urge to keep peace around you grew from environments where conflict was mishandled. The desire to prove your worth took root in places where affirmation was withheld. Each burden you carry has a story behind it, yet none of them were intended to remain attached to your identity. You are not defined by the weight you lift. You are defined by the resilience that allowed you to carry it this long. This season is inviting you to release what hath been crushing your spirit. Letting go does not mean giving up. It means acknowledging that your heart deserves rest. It means understanding that you are not responsible for fixing what others broke. It means recognizing that not every battle belongs in your hands. You have carried enough. You have survived enough. You have proven enough. It is time to place these burdens down, not because you are weak, but because you are ready for a freedom you have never fully known. There comes a moment when holding on to something becomes more painful than releasing it, and you are standing in that moment now. You have endured situations, memories, fears, and internal battles that have slowly worn down your joy, and the toll has become too heavy. Some of the things you cling to feel familiar, and that familiarity makes them difficult to let go of. Yet not everything familiar is healthy. Some patterns persist because they were born during times of survival, and surviving required you to suppress pieces of yourself. Now those very patterns are restricting your growth. You are no longer the person who needed them. The ache you feel inside is not weakness. It is the signal that your inner self is outgrowing what once protected you. There are wounds you rarely speak about, even to yourself. Some of them came from the silence of others when you needed support. Some formed from betrayals you never fully processed. Others are tied to expectations you placed on your own shoulders. These experiences created emotional knots that tightened over the years. You tried to ignore the discomfort, hoping it would fade with time, but unresolved pain only sinks deeper. The longer you held on to it, the more it shaped how you saw yourself, how you trusted others, and how you interpreted the future. But the season of carrying this weight has reached its end. This is not about forcing change. It is about accepting that your spirit deserves healing. Releasing what breaks you does not require dramatic gestures. It begins with acknowledging the truth you've avoided. It involves allowing yourself to feel the emotions you numbed. It means confronting fears that whispered lies about your worth. You may worry that letting go will leave you exposed or uncertain. But what you are releasing is not safety. It is confinement. The moment you loosen your grip, you create space for restoration. The heart becomes lighter when it stops resisting the healing process. The mind becomes clearer when it stops rehearsing old pain. The spirit becomes stronger when it steps away from what once drained its strength. This invitation to release is not about loss. It is about recovery. You are not abandoning anything essential. You are making room for who you are becoming. You are stepping out of cycles that repeated because they were never acknowledged. You are reclaiming parts of yourself that became overshadowed by fear. You are moving forward with a spirit that is ready to breathe again. What once fractured your inner world no longer holds authority over your direction. The release is not an ending. It is the doorway to freedom, renewal, and deeper purpose. You have longed for unmistakable direction, and in that longing you have carried a quiet fear that perhaps you would misinterpret what was meant for you. But hear this now with a settled heart. Nothing about this moment is unclear. You have waited through seasons where silence felt heavy, where your prayers rose but no immediate response followed, where uncertainty pressed against your confidence and made you question whether you were being guided at all. Yet within that stillness, something deeper was forming. Your capacity to listen beyond noise, to perceive beyond surface-level answers, and to receive insight with a spirit that has been refined by endurance. In this moment of creative, symbolic communion, you are not receiving vague impressions or subtle hints. You are encountering clarity. The thoughts rising inside you, the convictions pressing gently yet firmly on your heart, the instincts nudging you away from certain paths and toward new ones. These are part of a conversation you have been engaged in longer than you realize. There is a longing inside you for directness, for assurance, for a sense of being anchored in something solid. You feared missing a sign, or misreading an opportunity, or walking down a path that would lead to regret. These fears shape the way you approach decisions, sometimes making you overly cautious, sometimes pushing you to seek external validation instead of trusting the quiet wisdom emerging within. Yet this very moment is your reassurance that you are not navigating blindly. You are being shown truth in ways uniquely tailored to you, through the tension you feel when something is wrong, through the relief that settles in your body when something aligns, through unexpected insights that arrive when your mind is quiet, through conversations that bring confirmation without you even asking. Clarity does not always arrive with noise. Often it emerges from recognition. You have been guided even in the times when you thought you were wandering. You were receiving answers even in the seasons when it felt like nothing was changing. Sometimes clarity is withheld until your heart is ready to embrace what it reveals. That readiness is present now. What once felt confusing is becoming simpler. What once felt tangled is beginning to unravel. The direction you sought is forming through the very circumstances that challenged you. There is no guesswork in what is being asked of you. Step into the choices that align with peace, release the ones that drain your soul, and trust what resonates with the deeper truth inside you. This moment is not accidental. You asked to hear my voice in a way that reached past fear, past hesitation, past old doubts. What you are receiving now is exactly that. This is clarity designed not to overwhelm you, but to affirm that you are seen, understood, and guided with intention. Let this awareness settle into you. Let it steady you. Let it show you that the path ahead is not something you must decipher alone. This clarity is not fleeting. It is the beginning of a new way of perceiving everything around you. You may look back on your past and see scattered experiences, disconnected chapters, and seasons that seem to serve no purpose, yet every fragment has been part of a unified shaping. There were times you questioned whether the struggle had meaning, whether the disappointment was necessary, whether the delay served any purpose. You wondered why certain relationships entered your life only to leave, why certain opportunities fell apart when you were ready to commit, why certain moments felt harsh or unfair. These questions settled on your heart quietly, often in moments when you felt alone with your thoughts. But even the experiences you struggled to make sense of were contributing to the formation of who you are now. Nothing was wasted. The painful seasons refined your resilience. The joyful ones nurtured your hope. The quiet seasons strengthened your patience. Every chapter revealed a new aspect of your capacity. There is a tendency to view life as a sequence of disconnected events, but the truth is that each moment prepared you for the next. The challenges you endured softened you in some places and strengthened you in others. They gave you insight into people, compassion for suffering, discernment in choices, and wisdom about what truly matters. The waiting you resented created a depth within you that rushed seasons could never offer. The detours redirected you away from paths that would have harmed you. Even the situations that made you feel stuck were shaping your endurance. Each chapter added something essential to your identity, even if you didn't recognize it then. Now, as you stand in a season of awakening and transformation, you are beginning to see connections forming between experiences you once believed were accidental. Conversations, decisions, losses, realizations, and breakthroughs are interwoven. The strength you draw from today has roots in moments you once underestimated. This is why nothing was random. Your story was being crafted with intention, preparing you for opportunities that require the wisdom gained along the way. You are stepping into a moment of alignment where everything you have learned, everything you have endured, and everything you have hoped for converges into clarity and purpose. The life you are entering will require the very qualities shaped in you by seasons you once wished you could skip. What felt like silence taught you to listen deeply. What felt like hardship strengthened your resolve. What felt like loss made space for what is coming now. When you look at your past through the lens of this moment, you will begin to see purpose woven through the things that once confuse you. You are not a product of random experiences. You are the result of intentional shaping. Every season contributed to the person rising within you now, prepared for what comes next with a depth you could not have developed any other way. There is a shift taking place inside you that signals readiness, and this readiness is unlocking doors that seemed sealed for years. You have carried dreams, hopes, and quiet desires that felt distant no matter how earnestly you reached for them. You told yourself that breakthroughs were dependent on timing, circumstances, or external change. Yet what you're beginning to realize is that the greatest shift was always meant to happen within you first. Breakthrough is not simply an event, it is a state of alignment. When your inner world reaches a point of courage, clarity, and willingness, the opportunities that once seemed immovable begin to open. You are stepping into that alignment now. Something in your mindset has matured. Something in your heart has strengthened. Something in your spirit has awakened. This awakening signals that you are rising into a version of yourself that can hold what you once feared was too big for you. There were seasons when you were not ready to receive what you prayed for, not because you were unworthy, but because the responsibility tied to that blessing required growth that was still unfolding. The growth was not visible in the moment, yet it was happening beneath the surface. You learned how to discern people's intentions. You learned how to protect your energy. You learned how to make choices that reflect your worth. You learned how to navigate disappointment without collapsing. You learned how to rebuild after loss. Breakthrough requires this kind of internal maturity, and though you didn't realize it, your experiences have shaped it in you. As this readiness rises within you, the opportunities that once seemed delayed begin to align. Ideas gain clarity. Solutions reveal themselves. Strength returns in ways that surprise you. The courage to take action becomes natural instead of forced. Your future is not waiting for a perfect moment. It is waiting for you to recognize your capability. The doors that felt closed are not barriers. They are thresholds. They are opening as you step into your identity with confidence, intention, and a willingness to embrace change instead of resisting it. This rising is not loud or dramatic. It is subtle, steady, and undeniable. You feel it in your growing intolerance for stagnation. You feel it in your desire for honesty within yourself. You feel it in the pull toward possibilities you once labeled unrealistic. Breakthrough is not arriving from the outside. It is awakening from the inside. And as this inner awakening strengthens, everything around you responds in alignment. The change you seek is already forming, not because circumstances have shifted on their own, but because you have stepped into a posture that attracts what once seemed distant. The breakthrough isn't something you chase. It is something that emerges when you rise into who you were meant to be. There are moments in your life where the ground feels unsteady, and you sense that familiar structures are loosening, yet this dismantling is not a threat. It is preparation for what is meant to endure. You have been holding on to systems, expectations, relationships, and internal patterns that once seemed unbreakable, but they cannot support the weight of the future forming around you. The shaking you feel is not punishment. It is alignment. When a building undergoes renovation, certain walls must be removed so the foundation can support something stronger and more spacious. That is the type of restructuring happening within your life. Some pieces are falling away, not because you did anything wrong, but because they are too small for the person you are becoming. You are moving into a chapter where stability cannot be built on outdated beliefs about yourself or on connections that diminish your worth. The tremors you sense are clearing away the debris of former seasons so your next steps can rest on solid ground. You may wonder why this process feels so personal, as though life itself is confronting you. It is because growth touches the deepest places of your identity. You cannot step into a future defined by confidence while carrying belief shaped by inadequacy. You cannot embrace love while holding onto wounds that built walls around your heart. You cannot pursue purpose while shackled to pressures that drain your energy. The shaking exposes everything that has quietly hindered your progress. The discomfort is not meant to harm you. It is revealing what needs to be acknowledged, healed, or released. The truth that surfaces during seasons like this may feel intense, but this intensity carries freedom. Once illusions fall away, clarity rises, and you begin to see yourself with deeper honesty. There is also a cleansing effect in this shaking. You might notice certain situations no longer fitting you, as though you've outgrown them without trying. Conversations that once felt comforting may now feel limiting. Environments that used to feel safe may now feel stifling. These experiences signal that your inner world has expanded. Even if you tried to hold on to old structures, they would no longer align with the direction of your life. The shaking prevents you from slipping back into patterns that no longer serve you. It anchors you in truth rather than familiarity. As this process unfolds, trust that what remains after the shaking is meant to stay. What stands firm in this season is strong enough to support your calling. What withstands pressure is aligned with your growth. What stays present through the shifting is connected to your future. The shaking is not random. It is refining. It is stripping away what cannot join you on the next part of your journey. The ground beneath you is not collapsing. It is being strengthened. Everything that falls is making space for what I have promised to rise without obstruction. You have spent so much time comparing your progress to others that you've begun to believe a lie about your pace, yet nothing about your journey is late or misplaced. It is easy to look around and assume everyone else is moving faster, accomplishing more, reaching milestones you thought you would have reached by now. These comparisons weigh heavily on your heart, shaping your perception of success and creating pressure that never belonged to you. But step back for a moment and recognize that your path has never been identical to anyone else's. Every person carries experiences, strengths, wounds, and responsibilities unique to their story, and the pace of growth varies accordingly. You are not behind. You are unfolding at the speed designed for your development. Part of this misunderstanding comes from the way you measure progress. You tend to value visible achievements, forgetting that internal transformation often sets the stage for outward change. The seasons where you felt hidden or overlooked were not wasted. They were strengthening your inner world. You were learning resilience, cultivating emotional maturity, and discovering truth that would equip you for future moments. These internal developments cannot be rushed. If they had been skipped, the weight of your next season would have collapsed your foundations. What you call delay is often protection. It ensures that when opportunities do arrive, you are ready to sustain them. You also need to release the belief that life follows a linear timeline. Growth happens in layers, not predictable patterns. Some breakthroughs arrive suddenly, long after you assume they passed you by. Other breakthroughs unfold slowly, teaching you patience. Nothing meaningful is ever missed when you're aligned with your purpose. Even the detours in your life served significant roles. They introduced you to people who shaped you, taught you lessons you needed, or prevented you from stepping into situations that would have harmed you. Every twist in your story has been part of your preparation. If you take a breath and truly observe your life, you will notice that you have gained wisdom others seek. Your pace has allowed you to experience depth in ways that fast seasons cannot offer. There is a richness within you born from endurance, introspection, and reflection. These qualities shape your decisions differently now. They make you more intentional. They heighten your sensitivity to truth. They refine your understanding of what truly matters. Do not let comparison blind you to the progress you've made. You are not behind. You are aligned. You are standing precisely in the chapter where your growth converges with your readiness. Everything ahead of you will unfold with timing that honors both your development and your destiny. Trust the pace of your story, because it has never been accidental. There were moments when you felt the sting of delay so deeply that you wondered whether you had been overlooked. But what you interpreted as a closed door was actually a shield placed over your path. Certain opportunities that you pursued with enthusiasm would have placed you in environments not meant to nurture your growth. There were relationships you wanted to build that would have drained your spirit instead of strengthening it. There were decisions you were ready to make that would have tied you to responsibilities misaligned with your long-term purpose. You saw delay as a barrier, but it acted as a safeguard. Without that protection, you would have stepped into situations that looked promising from the outside yet carried consequences you could not see at the time. You often wonder why certain desires remained unfulfilled even though they were sincere. The timing felt right. The hope was genuine, and you put forth your best effort. Yet still, things did not unfold. This created confusion that sat heavily in your chest. But what you did not realize is that some of your desires were shaped by earlier versions of yourself. Versions still healing, still learning, still discovering identity. Those desires were not wrong. They were incomplete. If they had been granted prematurely, they would have placed you in roles or commitments that reflected who you were, not who you were becoming. Protection sometimes looks like unanswered prayers because what you were asking for could not support the future being designed for you. There were also people and situations hidden from your awareness that required distance for your well-being. You could not see the motivations, the instability, or the potential harm tied to certain opportunities. The delay prevented you from stepping into situations where your heart or peace would have suffered. It spared you from emotional entanglements that would have taken years to repair. It kept your spirit intact. These forms of protection rarely feel comforting in the moment, yet they reveal their purpose with time. As you reflect, you may notice areas where you now feel grateful for what didn't happen. Opportunities you once resented missing now reveal themselves as burdens you were spared. The clarity you carry today allows you to see what your former self could not. This awareness is part of your growth. It also affirms that protection is not the absence of opportunity. It is guidance toward what aligns with your future rather than your fears. The delays in your life were never dismissals. They were strategic pauses, ensuring that when you step forward, you are stepping into environments that nurture your potential, relationships that honor your value, and paths that lead toward fulfillment rather than regret. The season you once saw as stagnation now stands revealed as care. Protection has always been woven through your journey, even when you could not see it. There were opportunities you once chased with all your strength, yet no matter how determined you were, those doors would not budge, and the truth is that they were never designed to hold the weight of who you were becoming. You felt frustration rise inside you as you watched others walk through openings that seemed perfect for you. And in those moments you questioned your own worth, your own readiness, and sometimes even your own identity. Yet what you didn't understand then is now becoming clear. Some doors look attractive but are built for versions of you that no longer exist. You have outgrown many of the spaces you once begged to enter, even before you realized it. A door can look promising, but that doesn't mean it can support your potential, your calling, or your future. Some opportunities offer comfort when what you need is growth. Others offer stability when what you need is expansion. There were places that would have confined you, environments that would have kept you playing small, and commitments that would have drained your spirit instead of nourishing it. You sometimes interpreted closed doors as a reflection of inadequacy, but they were actually confirmations that your story is larger than you imagined. Certain paths and ceilings too low for your vision to stretch. Certain connections would have required you to shrink yourself to be accepted. Certain roles would have consumed your time without ever honoring your gifts. You were being denied. You were being preserved. Imagine stepping into a place that initially feels rewarding, only to realize later that it limits your voice, your freedom, and your purpose. That is what you were spared. Protection does not always come with comfort. At times it arrives wearing the appearance of disappointment, only to reveal itself as care when the bigger picture unfolds. There were also doors you desired because you believed they would validate you. You hoped that stepping into them would ease your fear of not being enough. But stepping through a door for validation only leads to more dependence on external approval, and that is a fragile foundation for anything meaningful. Your destiny requires strength that does not rely on applause. It requires identity that does not crumble under criticism. It requires clarity that is not shaped by insecurity. So when you pressed against certain doors and they remained closed, it was not a reflection of your insufficiency. It was a signal that you deserved something that would honor your growth rather than diminish it. And now, as you stand in a season of awakening, you will begin to see why certain doors never opened. You will understand how small they truly were compared to what is unfolding. The space I am guiding you into in this creative, symbolic narrative is not confined. It aligns with the person you are becoming. It honors the depth you gain through your struggles. It supports the expansion rising within you. The doors that once tempted you would have anchored you to a version of life that could not carry your future. What stayed closed did so because you were destined for something wider, richer, and far more aligned with your true calling. There were nights when your emotions spilled over in ways you could not express to anyone, and those quiet tears carried stories you felt unprepared to tell, yet none of them were overlooked. You tried to stay strong for others, holding yourself together even as the weight on your chest tightened with every unspoken worry. It wasn't that you lacked people around you. It was that you feared being misunderstood or dismissed. So instead of speaking, you carried everything in silence. Your tears became the language of your soul, revealing truths that your voice felt too tired to articulate. You wiped them quickly, hoping no one would notice the traces of exhaustion beneath your calm exterior. But the depth of your sorrow never went unseen. Those tears contained more than sadness. They carried frustration from seasons where your effort went unrecognized, disappointment from moments where you supported others without receiving the same in return, and heartbreak from places where you hoped for connection but found distance. You often questioned whether your emotions mattered, whether your quiet breaking had any meaning, or whether your vulnerability served a purpose at all. In the stillness of your private moments, you wondered if you were carrying too much or feeling too deeply. Yet this emotional depth is not a flaw. It is evidence of a heart that still cares, still hopes, still believes, even when wounded. Your silence did not make you invisible. The tears you shed in the dark revealed the resilience you carried into the light. They watered the soil of your inner growth, even when you felt drained. Every tear reflected a moment when you refused to let bitterness replace your compassion. They reflected your determination to keep going even when you felt depleted. And they held your desire for something better, something healing, something stable, something real. You feared that no one perceived your breaking, but your spirit was seen in its fullness. including the weight you tried to hide. Now you are stepping into a chapter where your emotional endurance becomes strength rather than shame. You will begin to understand how those silent tears softened your heart in ways pride never could. They created room for empathy, for discernment, for truth. They shaped your ability to recognize when others are hurting. They made you wiser, more grounded, more attuned to authenticity. Pain that is acknowledged becomes transformation. Pain that is hidden becomes heaviness. The fact that you felt deeply is not evidence of weakness. It is evidence that you are human enough to break and strong enough to heal. Those tears were not signs of defeat. They were seed. They did not fall into emptiness. They fell into purpose. And every moment you cried in silence is beginning to reveal its meaning as you rise into a season where healing is not only possible but inevitable. There is a depth within you that formed through experiences you would never have chosen. Yet those very experiences have been nurturing the ground of your future in ways you could not see at the time. The tears you shed, every one of them, carried emotional weight that felt overwhelming in the moment, yet within that weight there was purpose. You may have believed that your pain served no function, that your sorrow was pointless, that the nights where you felt broken did nothing but empty you. But what felt like emptiness was actually preparation. Your tears softened the hardened places within your spirit, making it possible for new truths to take root. They cleanse you of illusions, revealing what mattered most. They washed away attachments that were never meant to remain. Some of your most transformative insights were born in moments of deep emotion. The clarity you carry now came from times when you questioned everything. Wisdom rarely grows in untouched soil. It grows where the heart has been tilled by adversity. You felt vulnerable, but that vulnerability expanded your capacity to love, to connect, to discern, to hope. Without the pain you experienced, your future would lack the depth and compassion that now define you. The soil of your life was enriched not through ease but through the raw authenticity of what broke you open. Every tear contributed to who you are becoming. You might feel tempted to look back with frustration, wondering why you had to feel so much. But those tears developed a maturity that surface-level experiences could never offer. They built endurance. They strengthened your emotional awareness. They taught you to recognize what aligns with your spirit and what silently harms it. They prepared you to step into future opportunities with clarity rather than desperation. And they shaped your ability to handle blessings without losing yourself. Without the internal cultivation that sorrow created, you would not have the stability to hold the growth that is approaching. A seed cannot grow unless the soil is softened. And your tears soften you, not to weaken you, but to make you receptive to transformation. There are dreams forming now that require the tenderness developed through your emotional journey. There are relationships that will flourish because you learned how to love from a place of authenticity rather than fear. There are opportunities that will require the resilience shaped through your struggles. What once felt like heaviness has become the foundation for your strength. As you move forward, you will see the harvest of what was watered through your pain. Nothing was wasted. Not a single tear fell without contributing to the unfolding of your story. What once felt like breaking was actually planting. What once felt like loss was actually preparation. And soon, you will look at your life and recognize how every tear was quietly nurturing the very future you are stepping into. There is a moment in every deep struggle when you felt yourself on the edge of collapse, and that moment, the one you wished you could erase, is now becoming a turning point you will one day speak of with strength instead of pain. You have walked through seasons where the pressure felt too heavy, and you wondered whether you had anything left to give. You reached emotional thresholds where even small tasks felt overwhelming. You questioned your resilience, your endurance, and your ability to keep moving forward. In those moments, you felt as though the battle was taking something from you that you could never recover. Yet even as you felt weakened, something was being shaped within you that could only emerge through adversity. The breaking you feared was not a breaking of your identity. It was the breaking of limits placed on you by fear, by past wounds, and by beliefs that underestimated your strength. The battle that nearly defeated you forced you to confront parts of yourself that had been buried for years. You realized the difference between what was essential and what was draining. You discovered hidden strength in places where you assumed there was only fragility. You became more aware of the truth that your value does not diminish simply because life tests you. This struggle peeled back layers you no longer needed and revealed the core of who you are when everything unnecessary falls away. Without realizing it, your spirit developed resilience that cannot be shaken by simple circumstances. You grew in discernment, in compassion, in emotional depth, and in clarity regarding what aligns with your future and what does not. Elevation does not emerge from ease. It rises from the places where you fought to remain whole. The experiences that pressured your heart also refined your character. They have equipped you with insight that will guide you as you step into new responsibilities, new relationships, and new opportunities. People will one day look at your strength and assume it came naturally, never understanding that it was forged in nights when you cried quietly, in decisions that demanded courage, and in moments when giving up seemed easier than continuing. What nearly broke you is becoming the very foundation upon which your next season stands. You will begin to see how this battle sharpened your vision. It dismantled illusions, exposed unhealthy patterns, and disrupted cycles that would have held you captive for years. It showed you who stood with you sincerely and who only stayed when it was convenient. It revealed which environments uplift your spirit and which ones restrict your growth. These revelations alone will elevate your path forward because clarity liberates what confusion once confined. Right now, without fully realizing it, you are rising. You are stepping into a stage of your journey where your strength carries weight. You are emerging with wisdom that will guide others, courage that will anchor future decisions, and depth that cannot be replicated. Nothing you endured was wasted. The battle that felt like it would destroy you is becoming the very reason you rise into greater purpose, deeper identity, and a stronger sense of who you are meant to become. There were seasons when silence surrounded you so heavily that you questioned whether you were walking alone, yet every moment of stillness was shaping you in ways that noise could never accomplish. You assumed that the absence of clear direction meant abandonment, but it was actually a deliberate space carved out for growth that needed privacy. Strength does not always emerge in victorious moments. Often, it takes form in the quiet terrains of waiting, healing, and reflection. You did not realize that the very places where you felt most alone were the places where your spirit was quietly transforming. In the moments when nothing seemed to be changing on the outside, there were shifts occurring within you that would one day become undeniable. The silence was not distance, it was development. During that time, you learned how to navigate your emotions with maturity rather than letting them control you. You learned how to sit with discomfort without running from it. You learned to stop relying solely on external validation and began listening to your inner voice. You grew in patience because there was no other option. You developed endurance because the journey demanded it. You discovered insights about yourself that would have remained hidden if life had constantly moved at a fast pace. The quiet seasons shaped your intuition, sharpened your discernment, and built a foundation strong enough to carry you into a future that requires emotional and spiritual depth. It is often in the hidden moments that identity is sculpted. You are being prepared for experiences that require stability, not insecurity, clarity, not confusion, truth, not pretense. Had life continued moving quickly, you might have overlooked parts of yourself that needed attention. You might have avoided healing that now feels natural and necessary. You might have embraced opportunities that would have overwhelmed you instead of empowering you. Growth that happens in the open is easily celebrated. Growth that happens in the hidden places is easily misunderstood, yet it is the hidden growth that becomes the most enduring. Now you are beginning to realize that what you perceive as silence was actually strategy. The quiet allowed old wounds to surface so they could be addressed. It allowed harmful attachments to fall away. It gave you space to rediscover your own voice rather than mimicking what others expected of you. It gave you the strength to stand on your own feet without depending on temporary comforts. These moments cultivated a strength that feels calm, steady, and grounded rather than forceful or reactive. You are emerging from that hidden season with more resilience than you had before. The strength built in silence will support you through seasons of noise. What once felt like abandonment reveals itself now as preparation. You were never without guidance. You were growing quietly, deeply, and intentionally in the places no one could see. If you paused long enough to truly reflect on what you have endured, you would recognize that your survival is not something ordinary. It is evidence of an inner resilience stronger than you ever acknowledged. Not every person could have carried the weight that you carried. Not everyone could have navigated the challenges you faced and emerged with their hearts still open, their minds still seeking truth, and their souls still capable of hope. You have moved through circumstances that should have hardened you, yet you remain capable of compassion. You have walked through disappointments that could have broken your spirit, yet you continue reaching for better days. Your ability to endure does not come from denying your pain. It comes from a depth inside you that refuses to surrender your potential. There were experiences aimed at dismantling your confidence, but they revealed your determination instead. There were losses that threatened to define you, but they strengthened your appreciation for what remains. There were betrayals that could have closed your heart, but they sharpened your discernment instead of destroying your capacity for connection. Even in your darkest moments, something within you insisted on rising, even if that rising was slow. You underestimate your own strength because you compare it to perfection rather than to the obstacles you've overcome. Survival does not always look triumphant. Sometimes it looks like getting out of bed when heaviness presses on your chest. Sometimes it looks like choosing honesty when denial feels easier. Sometimes it looks like walking away from what hurts you even when you feel attached to it. Sometimes it looks like crying deeply and then wiping your face so you can continue. Every one of these moments is strength in motion. You often recognize your wounds more easily than you recognize your power, yet both exist, and your power has outlasted every wound. Now you are stepping into a season where your survival becomes not just something you endured, but something that empowers you. The strength you built will guide future decisions. It will protect you from repeating patterns that once drained you. It will help you recognize opportunities aligned with your growth. It will give you courage to step into new experiences without being defined by old pain. You survived what was meant to destroy you, and that means you carry a depth that cannot be manufactured, a wisdom that cannot be taught, and a resilience that has been tested and proven. Let yourself acknowledge the truth. You are stronger than you realized, more capable than you believed, and more prepared for your future than you ever imagined. Your survival is not just past. It is the foundation of everything rising in your life now. You have spent years learning how to endure, but this is the moment where endurance transforms into direction, and what once felt like mere survival is now becoming a doorway into intentional living. There is a significant difference between simply making it through a day and moving with clarity toward something meaningful, and you are entering a season where that difference becomes unmistakable. For so long, you made decisions from a place of pressure, responding to circumstances, reacting to disappointments, managing crises, and carrying responsibilities that kept your spirit in a state of constant vigilance. Those patterns were necessary at times because life's challenges demanded resilience. But survival mode is not a permanent identity. It is only a temporary shelter meant to protect you until you are strong enough to move beyond it. Now that strength is present within you, the tension you feel, the subtle urge to do more, to seek more, to grow beyond what once felt acceptable, is evidence that your spirit is awakening to purpose. This shift is not about suddenly knowing every detail of your future. Instead, it's about recognizing that you are no longer the person who needs to live defensively. You are learning how to choose from clarity instead of fear. You are learning how to trust your intuition rather than questioning your every instinct. You are learning how to honor your needs instead of tolerating environments that drain you. Survival taught you discipline. Purpose will teach you freedom. The transition between the two may feel unfamiliar because you became so accustomed to managing pain that you forgot how to embrace possibility. Yet, step by step, your mindset is expanding, making room for a life shaped by intention rather than necessity. Within this shift, new desires are surfacing, desires to build something meaningful, to heal deeper wounds, to create stability, to align with truth, to seek growth, to find peace. These desires are not random. They are invitations. They reveal what your soul has been preparing for even during the seasons when you felt overwhelmed. Purpose unfolds as your heart becomes willing to let go of the survival habits that once protected you but now limit you. You are not abandoning what kept you afloat. You are rising above it. The inner strength you develop is becoming fuel for your transformation. As purpose begins to guide your steps, you will notice subtle changes in your decisions, your relationships, and your priorities. You will no longer tolerate what once exhausted you. You will naturally gravitate toward authenticity. You will find yourself speaking truth with courage instead of silence. You will feel drawn toward opportunities that align with your values rather than ones that simply fill a void. These changes are not forced. They emerge from an internal shift you have already begun experiencing. You are crossing a threshold. The journey ahead is not about surviving each day but stepping into a future shaped by meaning, intention, and alignment. The life rising before you is no longer built on struggle. It is built on purpose, and you are ready to walk into it. There is a powerful transition taking place in your life where the very challenges that once drained you are becoming sources of momentum, and what felt like resistance is now evolving into propulsion. This transformation may feel subtle at first, but soon you will recognize it as one of the most significant shifts in your journey. You have endured storms that shook your confidence, storms that unsettled your plans, storms that forced you to confront emotional depths you had long avoided. During those seasons, you felt weakened by uncertainty and overwhelmed by the weight of what you were facing. Yet while you were weathering those storms, something within you was strengthening quietly: your capacity to handle pressure, your understanding of resilience, and your ability to remain grounded when life becomes unpredictable. These inner qualities are becoming catalysts, turning past turmoil into present direction. The same winds that once pushed against you are now shifting behind you. Experiences that previously felt like obstacles are becoming sources of insight, helping you navigate with clarity rather than confusion. Because of what you have endured, you no longer approach challenges with fear. You approach them with discernment. You see patterns quickly. You recognize red flags earlier. You understand your emotional triggers and can respond with maturity rather than instinctual reaction. You can stand in situations that once overwhelmed you because your sense of identity is no longer fragile. This inner transformation allows previous storms to become fuel, guiding you, informing you, and propelling you toward growth instead of holding you back. What used to drain your energy now informs your direction. Storms change the landscape, removing what is weak, exposing what is true, and clearing what once seemed immovable. The upheaval you endured removed illusions you didn't realize you were clinging to. It separated you from relationships and environments that were misaligned with your growth. It disrupted routines that kept you bound to patterns of smallness. Because of these disruptions, you are seeing life through a lens sharpened by truth. The winds that once scattered you now gather your focus. The emotional turbulence you faced has created grounding. As you continue forward, you will notice that the storms you survived have developed within you a capacity for stability that guides others. You carry wisdom that cannot be learned through comfort. You carry experience that enables you to step confidently into unfamiliar situations. Your endurance has matured into authority. You no longer react from insecurity. You respond from understanding. What once exhausted you now strengthens you, because you see meaning in what you endured. The winds are shifting direction, and instead of standing against them, you are rising with them. These storms did not defeat you. They prepared you. And now, they are carrying you forward into the next chapter with force, clarity, and momentum. There is a letting go unfolding in your life that may feel painful, confusing, or sudden, yet this release is essential for the future that is approaching, and holding on will only slow your steps. You have felt certain things slipping from your grasp, relationships shifting, habits losing their pull, desires changing, opportunities closing, or familiar structures dissolving. These endings do not reflect failure, they reflect timing. When you outgrow a season, life begins quietly loosening your grip on the things that cannot support your next stage. The instinct to hold on is understandable, especially when familiarity brings comfort, but clinging to what is fading will only prolong a version of yourself that is no longer aligned with your purpose. The discomfort you feel is not a sign that something precious is being taken from you. It is a sign that something greater is making room to enter. There are attachments in your life that form during periods of uncertainty or emotional need. At the time, they felt like anchors, stabilizing, reassuring, necessary. But now, those same attachments may restrict your movement, limit your growth, or confine your identity. You are changing on a level deeper than even you fully understand, and your external world must adjust accordingly. When something is removed, whether gently or abruptly, it is because keeping it would hinder your evolution. You may be tempted to pursue closure, explanations, or reconnection, but sometimes clarity only arrives after the letting go is complete. For now, trust the internal knowing that has begun to rise, telling you that certain paths are finished. Letting go is not loss, it is transition. When you release what no longer aligns, you create space for what is meant to arrive. This release is an act of courage, not abandonment. It allows identity to form from truth rather than habit. You deserve environments that acknowledge your worth. You deserve relationships that reflect your growth. You deserve opportunities rooted in alignment, not convenience. Anything that cannot evolve with you must fall away, not because it is unworthy, but because your calling demands clarity, stability, and freedom. In time, you will see how this release protected you. You will understand that holding on would have kept you tied to emotional cycles that drained you. You will recognize that the removal created space for new connections, new dreams, new strength, and new purpose. The pain of letting go will transform into gratitude as your future unfolds. For now, trust the process. What is leaving is not meant to accompany you. What remains will support your becoming. And what is coming next requires both your hands open and your heart free. There comes a moment in your journey when the things quietly robbing you of strength can no longer remain hidden, and that moment is unfolding right now, even if it feels unsettling. You have carried patterns, attachments, expectations, and emotional ties that once felt harmless but slowly weakened your confidence, your peace, and your sense of direction. Some of these drains were subtle, an internal belief you repeated for years, a relationship you tolerated even though it chipped away at your worth, a responsibility you accepted out of guilt rather than purpose, or a habit that soothed your anxiety while slowly limiting your potential. These influences blended into your daily life so seamlessly that you didn't recognize how much they were taking from you. Yet in this symbolic, intimate conversation, those hidden drains are being brought to light, not to overwhelm you, but to free you from cycles that have silently shaped your choices. There is a reason exposure feels uncomfortable. It confronts familiar patterns, revealing truths that your mind tried to rationalize or minimize. But the purpose of exposure is liberation. When something that drains your energy is finally revealed, you gain the power to make decisions rooted in clarity rather than confusion. You begin to recognize the difference between relationships that nurture you and ones that rely on your silence. You distinguish between commitments that align with your growth and ones that rely on you abandoning your needs. You discern between dreams that inspire you and fears that keep you attached to versions of yourself you've outgrown. This unveiling is not meant to shame you for past choices. It's meant to release you from the weight of unconscious agreements. There is also a deeper healing embedded within this exposure. Each draining influence was connected to an emotional wound, perhaps the desire to be accepted, the fear of being abandoned, the instinct to prove your worth, or the belief that you needed to sacrifice your peace to maintain stability. As these drains come into view, the wounds underneath them rise to the surface, ready to be acknowledged and transformed. Healing requires honesty, and honesty becomes possible only when the truth is illuminated. You may feel vulnerable as this process unfolds, but vulnerability is the doorway to restoration. You cannot walk freely while carrying what depletes you. As you continue forward, you will notice subtle shifts in the way you respond to situations that once consumed your energy. You will no longer seek validation from the wrong places. You will recognize manipulation before it takes root. You will feel a natural pull away from environments that conflict with your identity. You will notice your spirit refusing to settle for what drains you. This clarity is a sign that freedom is already unfolding. You are being positioned to walk into a life where your energy is aligned, your boundaries are strong, and your growth is supported. Nothing exposed in this season is meant to harm you. It is meant to release you. What once drained you will no longer define you, because you are stepping into a level of freedom that has been waiting for you to see the truth. The areas of your life that once felt fragile are becoming the very places where resilience is taking root, and what you assumed was weakness is evolving into strength shaped by truth rather than fear. You remember the moments when you felt emotionally overwhelmed, when the weight of uncertainty pressed hard against your chest, when doubt clouded your decisions, when your confidence trembled under pressure. Those moments convinced you that something inside you was broken or lacking. Yet weakness is not a flaw, it is an invitation. It reveals where healing is needed, where growth is possible, where wisdom can emerge, and where a deeper part of you is waiting to awaken. The places where you once felt unsteady are being filled now with a strength that comes not from pretending but from understanding. Clarity is rising in the same areas where confusion once lived. You're beginning to see patterns differently. You're noticing your emotional responses and finally understanding their roots rather than judging them. You're recognizing where fear influenced your choices, and you're untangling your identity from old stories that never reflected your worth. Strength and clarity are forming side by side, one giving you resilience, the other giving you direction. This transformation is not loud. It unfolds through moments where you pause before reacting, moments where you speak truth even when your voice is soft, moments where you choose alignment over comfort, and moments where you give yourself permission to grow at your own pace. Each of these moments is a thread in the tapestry of your rising. What once felt like weakness was often exhaustion, the fatigue of carrying more than your heart was meant to hold. Now that you are releasing old burdens, your spirit has space to rebuild. This rebuilding is not temporary. It is foundational. Strength shaped by clarity becomes unshakable because it is grounded in truth rather than performance or pressure. You are learning how to trust your internal signals, how to honor your emotional needs, and how to respond to life with steadiness instead of survival. These qualities may feel new, but they were always within you. Now they are emerging because you finally have room to see yourself clearly. As new clarity fills your once fractured spaces, you will notice a peace forming that does not depend on circumstances. You will make decisions with confidence, not force. You will protect your energy because you understand its value. You will recognize when something aligns with your identity and when it disrupts your balance. The process is gradual, but it is unmistakably present. Strength is returning in ways that feel organic. Clarity is forming in ways that feel empowering. You are stepping into a version of yourself that moves through life with certainty shaped by growth, experience, and truth. This transformation is real and ongoing, and it is preparing you for everything that comes next. You have reached a point where you no longer want vague hope or distant possibilities. You want direction that feels personal, clear, and aligned with the deeper truth rising within you. You've prayed, reflected, wrestled with indecision, and questioned your instincts more than once. At times you felt lost between choices, uncertain whether to move forward, step back, or wait. This tension was not a sign of failure. It was preparation for a moment where clarity would arrive with unmistakable resonance. That moment is here. In this symbolic, intimate dialogue, the direction you sought is beginning to form, not in flashes of dramatic revelation, but in the calm knowing settling into your spirit. The path ahead is becoming visible because your heart is finally ready to recognize what aligns and what does not. This direction comes through subtle signals, your peace identifying where your next steps belong, your discomfort revealing where your spirit no longer fits, your desires shifting in ways that draw you toward authenticity. These signals are not random. They are markers on your path. You've already felt them pulling you away from environments that drain your energy and toward spaces where you feel grounded, inspired, or at ease. You felt sudden clarity about relationships that once confused you. You sensed the beginning of new ideas forming in your mind, ideas that feel aligned with your identity rather than shaped by expectation. These inner movements are confirmations. Your path is not forming outside of you. It is forming through you. There is a guidance rising within your intuition that will soon feel undeniable. You will notice your spirit leaning toward decisions that support your growth, even when fear tries to hold you back. You will feel a quiet strength guiding you toward healing conversations, new environments, or opportunities you once overlooked. You will sense the difference between choices rooted in pressure and choices rooted in truth. This sensitivity is direction. It is a hand on your path, steadying you when you feel uncertain and nudging you when you hesitate. You are not being asked to map out your entire future. You are being asked to take the next step that aligns with who you are becoming. Direction unfolds one decision at a time. With each step, clarity increases. With each step, your confidence expands. With each step, the life you desire moves closer into form. You are being guided not into chaos but into alignment. Not into fear, but into purpose. Not into confusion, but into clarity. The path is not hidden. It is emerging beneath your willingness to trust your inner knowing. And as you continue forward, each step will reveal the next, leading you toward a future shaped by intention, freedom, and truth. There are moments when the path ahead begins to shift in ways that challenge your comfort, and this shift often makes you hesitate. Yet the very unfamiliarity that unsettles you is the clearest sign that growth is calling your name. You have prayed to be guided, to be shown the way, to be led out of cycles that kept you small. Yet when direction arrives in forms that stretch you, your first instinct is to second-guess what you feel. This hesitation comes from old patterns whispering that safety lies in predictability, even when predictability has kept you confined. But the truth rising within you now is that your spirit recognizes where it needs to go long before your logic catches up. The steps I'm calling you to take in this symbolic, creative dialogue are not random detours. They are invitations into a life you have quietly longed for. These steps may lead you away from what is familiar, but they lead you toward what is aligned. When a new opportunity stirs something in you, even if fear rises alongside it, that stirring exists because part of your identity is waking up. When your intuition pushes you toward a decision you didn't expect to consider, it is not confusion. It is clarity dressed in courage. What you must understand is that unfamiliar does not mean unsafe. It means untried. It means untested. It means unexplored potential waiting to meet you. Growth rarely feels comfortable at first because it requires you to release habits that no longer serve you and embrace possibilities you have never experienced. Yet every meaningful transformation begins with a single step that challenges the boundaries of your old life. Pay attention to the inner nudges, the quiet urges, the subtle pull toward something different. These movements are not accidents. They are signals from the deepest parts of your being, revealing what resonates with your future rather than your past. You may not have all the information, but you do have instinct. You may not see the entire map, but you see the next direction. Trust that. Trust the way your peace expands around certain choices and tightens around others. Trust the direction your energy naturally gravitates toward. Trust the moments when your heart feels strangely calm despite your mind's questions. That calm is your confirmation. As you move forward, the steps will become clearer with each one you take. Direction increases through motion, not stagnation. You do not gain confidence by waiting, you gain confidence by walking. You do not learn the fullness of your purpose by staying still, you learn it by responding to the invitations life places before you. The unfamiliar path is not meant to confuse you, it is meant to awaken you. So when the next step feels unusual, uncertain, or new, do not shrink back. Allow yourself to trust that guidance is present, even when the path looks different from anything you expected. The steps may be unfamiliar, but they are taking you exactly where you need to go. You are entering a season where everything that once felt scattered, disorganized, or disjointed is going to begin aligning with a clarity that brings peace to your soul. And this alignment is not something you must force. It's something already unfolding around you. You have carried tension in areas where nothing seemed to match, where your intentions did not reflect your outcomes, where your energy felt drained without clear reason, and where parts of your life seemed to move in different directions without harmony. These imbalances created frustration because your spirit has sensed, for a long time, that you were meant to live with deeper coherence. And now, the pieces that once seemed unrelated are drawing together in ways you never expected. This is alignment. Sacred, intentional alignment, forming not from your effort alone, but from growth that has matured beneath the surface. Alignment doesn't always begin with clarity. It often begins with destruction. The misaligned areas of your life needed to be revealed before they could be corrected. You noticed relationships shifting, desires changing, opportunities closing, and internal signals strengthening. These changes were not coincidences. They were adjustments preparing you for a life more balanced, more meaningful, and more connected to your true identity. You might have felt confused as old priorities lost their appeal or as your spirit resisted environments you once tolerated. But this resistance was not rebellion. It was awakening. Your inner world is aligning with a version of yourself that no longer accepts chaos as normal. As alignment continues, you will find yourself making decisions with greater ease. What once felt complicated will feel simple. What once felt heavy will lose its grip. What once felt uncertain will reveal a new clarity. This alignment will affect how you relate to yourself, how you manage your time, how you choose connections, how you envision your future, and how you handle opportunities. Your decisions will reflect your worth, not your fear. Your boundaries will reflect your value, not your insecurity. Your goals will reflect your identity, not your past wounds. This is the power of alignment working within you. The parts of your life that felt scattered were not broken. They were unorganized pieces waiting for the right season to find their place. That season is now. You are stepping into a chapter where your inner world and your outer world begin to match. You will walk with a sense of direction, not because everything is perfect, but because everything is becoming purposeful. Alignment is not about having every answer. It is about moving in rhythm with truth. And you are beginning to move with that rhythm in ways that will transform every area of your life. You have lived through seasons where events did not seem to connect, where your efforts felt fragmented, where decisions led to outcomes you didn't expect, and where life appeared to move in unpredictable directions. But all of it is about to come together in a clarity that will leave you in awe. There were moments when you questioned why you met certain people, why certain doors opened only to close, why you felt drawn to desires that remained out of reach, or why your journey seemed to take detours that didn't match your intentions. These scattered experiences created tension within you because you were trying to interpret pieces without seeing the completed picture. But the picture is forming now. What once looked disconnected is beginning to reveal purpose. Every emotional battle contributed to your depth. Every disappointment taught you boundaries. Every delay strengthened your patience. Every ending refined your discernment. Every unexpected moment shaped your character. While these experiences felt random at the time, they were preparing the foundation for a season where everything aligns with striking clarity. You will begin to see connections between chapters you thought were unrelated. You will recognize how certain lessons prepared you for opportunities arriving now. You will understand why certain relationships were temporary and why certain desires stayed dormant until you were ready to honor them. This dawning clarity will bring peace to areas where you once felt confusion. Instead of questioning your path, you will begin to trust it. Instead of regretting your past, you will begin to appreciate it. Instead of feeling scattered, you will feel integrated, whole in ways you've never experienced before. The sense of purpose that emerges from this understanding will not feel forced. It will feel natural, because it had been growing within you quietly for years. You simply needed the right season for the pieces to meet. As everything becomes clear, you will realize that nothing was wasted. Even the moments you once wished you could erase now reveal their place in your growth. This clarity will not only make sense of your past, it will illuminate your future. You will feel confident stepping into new opportunities because you finally see how they connect to who you are becoming. You will recognize that life had been shaping you all along, even when you felt lost. And the clarity rising within you now will give you a profound sense of direction, grounding, and purpose. The season of scattered pieces is ending. The season of alignment is beginning. And soon you will look at your life with a sense of understanding that fills the spaces where confusion once lived. There are seasons when uncertainty wraps around your mind so tightly that you begin to question your every thought, yet what you call confusion is quietly evolving into the very revelation you've been longing for. You have felt lost before, caught between options, pulled in different directions, unsure which voice within you to trust. This unsettled feeling often made you think you were doing something wrong, or that clarity was out of reach. But confusion is rarely a sign of failure. It is the dissolving of an old perspective so a new one can rise. You have been shedding beliefs that were never truly yours, stepping away from patterns that limited you, and confronting questions you once avoided. In that process, your inner landscape has shifted dramatically. What feels like mental fog is actually the unfamiliar brightness of truth breaking through. Confusion often emerges at the threshold of transformation. It signals that the old worldview can no longer hold the new wisdom forming inside you. You have grown too much to think the way you used to, but you haven't yet settled into the clarity waiting for you. This in-between brings tension. It makes you feel suspended, no longer who you were, not yet who you are becoming. But this is where revelation begins. Your questions are more honest. Your insights are sharper. Your intuition is louder. Even the internal conflict you feel reveals that your spirit is refusing to let you return to smaller versions of yourself. The confusion didn't come to punish you. It came to detach you from what is no longer aligned. Revelation grows in these moments of unraveling. Truth rises in the spaces where old assumptions fall apart. What once felt complicated becomes simpler when you stop trying to force your life to fit standards you never agreed to. You are beginning to understand why certain experiences wounded you, why certain connections faded, why certain desires continue pulling on your heart. You're recognizing patterns with new maturity. You're interpreting your emotions with deeper insight. You're learning to trust the inner signals that once felt like whispers and now feel like steady guidance. The confusion is thinning because revelation is taking shape beneath it. Soon, you will notice clarity arriving in unexpected ways. Conversations will confirm what your heart already sensed. Opportunities will appear that match your new direction. Choices that once looked overwhelming will feel obvious. The heaviness around indecision will lift as truth becomes undeniable. This revelation will bring peace to places where uncertainty once lived. It will anchor your identity, guide your decisions, and illuminate the path ahead. You are not lost. You are being reoriented. Confusion is not your enemy. It is the final stage before clarity. And as you move forward, you will see that what once overwhelmed you was the birth of understanding that will carry you for years to come. Deep inside you, there has always been a version of yourself capable of courage, but for years that courage was muffled by doubt, fear, and a belief that you had to be absolutely certain before taking any meaningful step. Yet that internal hesitation is now transforming into a boldness you never imagined you could carry. There were moments when opportunities appeared before you, and instead of stepping forward, you paused, not because you lacked desire, but because you questioned your readiness. You worried about the opinions of others. You feared failure. You replayed worst-case scenarios. You tried to predict outcomes before taking a single step. All of this created a cycle of hesitation that kept your spirit in a state of weighing. But waiting has reached its limit. Something inside you refuses to remain stagnant any longer. The boldness rising within you isn't loud or impulsive. It is steady. It is grounded. It is the kind of courage built from self-awareness rather than pressure. You have learned enough about yourself to understand what you want and what you can no longer tolerate. This inner clarity naturally produces courage, because when you finally recognize your worth, you begin to move differently. Your decisions become intentional. Your voice becomes grounded. Your desires become valid rather than negotiable. Instead of asking whether you're ready, you begin asking whether the opportunity aligns with who you are becoming. That shift alone is boldness. Your hesitation wasn't weakness. It was a sign that your spirit needed time to grow strong enough to support the future waiting for you. Had you rushed forward earlier, your steps might have been shaped by insecurity or confusion. But now your boldness is rooted in truth. It arises from the lessons you've learned, the boundaries you've embraced, the healing you've allowed, and the courage you cultivated every time you faced a fear and refused to run from it. Every moment you chose honesty over avoidance, every time you acknowledged your emotions instead of suppressing them, every time you confronted something uncomfortable, these choices built your boldness quietly. As this inner courage strengthens, you will notice new patterns emerging. You will speak more openly. You will say no without guilt. You will pursue dreams without apologizing. You will express your needs without shrinking. You will explore ideas without doubting your intelligence. You will walk into rooms without questioning whether you belong. This boldness doesn't make you reckless, it makes you authentic. The world around you will respond to this transformation. Opportunities that once ignored you will begin to notice you. People who once underestimated you will recognize your strength. Doors that once intimidated you will open. Your life will expand with each courageous step you take. The hesitation that once held you back is dissolving, and the boldness rising within you will become one of your greatest strengths. Every painful experience you've lived through, every heartbreak, betrayal, disappointment, and silent struggle has been molding you into someone capable of depth, compassion, discernment, and strength. And now those wounds are transforming into wisdom that will guide you for the rest of your life. You spend years wondering why certain experiences cut so deeply, why some losses lingered, and why certain memories resurfaced at the most unexpected times. But wounds resurface not to torment you, but to reveal what still needs healing and what lessons they were always meant to teach you. Your wounds once felt like weights that kept you anchored to the past, but they are now becoming teachers, quiet, powerful teachers who shape how you navigate your future. There is wisdom that comes only from lived experience. You understand subtle emotional shifts in others because you felt those shifts in yourself. You recognize when a situation feels unsafe because you've learned to trust the signals your body gives. You can sense authenticity because you've lived through the pain of false intentions. You recognize manipulation quickly because you survived it once before. You understand what real love requires because you've seen the damage caused by its counterfeits. These insights aren't things you read in a book. They were carved into your spirit through moments of vulnerability and resilience. Your wounds also taught you about your own worth. They revealed where you settled, where you overextended yourself, where you remained silent when you needed to speak up, and where you gave more than was ever reciprocated. These realizations may have felt harsh at first, but they birthed self-respect. They awakened your awareness of what you deserve. They strengthened your boundaries. They refined your voice. They anchored you in truth. Without these painful awakenings, you would still be tolerating environments that diminish you. Now, as you move forward, the wisdom gained from your wounds will become a guiding force. You will make choices grounded in discernment. You will offer compassion without losing yourself. You will recognize genuine connection without fear. You will build relationships rooted in honesty, not desperation. You will approach opportunities with clarity rather than naivety. You will identify red flags early, not to judge others but to protect your peace. Your wounds no longer define you. They inform you. They no longer hold you back. They lead you forward. They no longer drain you. They strengthen your intuition. Everything you endured is now becoming insight that will enrich your life and the lives of those around you. The wisdom rising within you is not fragile. It is forged. It is earned. And it is becoming one of the most powerful parts of who you are becoming. There is a shift happening within you where the very emotions that once paralyzed you are becoming catalysts for deeper strength, and the fear that once dictated your steps is now transforming into a faith that cannot be shaken. You have spent years learning to navigate your anxieties, worrying about outcomes, bracing for disappointment, replaying worst-case scenarios in your mind, and questioning your ability to handle what might come next. Fear shaped the way you interpreted opportunities, relationships, and your own worth. It convinced you to stay silent when you needed to speak, to hold back when you felt the urge to move forward, to dim your light when you sensed resistance. Yet fear, despite its intensity, has never been an accurate reflection of your limits. It was simply an internal alarm reacting to wounds that were never fully acknowledged. Now, the same fear that once held you in place is revealing the spaces where your faith is meant to rise. Faith grows where fear is challenged. Not by force, not by denial, but through truth. Truth about who you are, what you've survived, and what you are capable of. You've lived through moments you thought would break you. You faced conversations you once dreaded. You endured transitions that shook your identity. And while fear whispered that you wouldn't make it, you did. You adapted. You learned. You grew. Whether you realized it or not, that growth was faith in motion. Faith isn't always loud. Sometimes it begins as a single brave breath, a quiet decision to rise again, or a small step taken even while trembling. These moments are becoming the building blocks of a boldness that now anchors your future. Your fears revealed where your heart longed for assurance. Now, assurance is emerging, not from external circumstances but from within you. You're learning to trust your intuition. You're learning to trust the wisdom gained from your experiences. You're learning to trust the inner knowing that tells you when something is right for you and when it is not. This trust is the essence of faith, and it's growing stronger each day. Fear once clouded your vision. Faith is clearing it. Fear once made you shrink. Faith is helping you expand. Fear once pushed you into survival. Faith is guiding you toward purpose. Soon, you will begin noticing yourself responding differently to situations that used to overwhelm you. Decisions that once caused anxiety will feel manageable. Boundaries that once felt impossible to set will become natural. Conversations that once intimidated you will feel straightforward. Opportunities that once seemed too big will begin to feel aligned. This is what it looks like when fear transforms into faith, not an absence of emotion, but a dominance of truth. You are moving into a chapter where faith becomes your default posture, not because life is suddenly perfect, but because you finally understand your own strength. Fear tried to overshadow your potential. Now your faith is reclaiming it. And as this inner confidence rises, you will step into your life with a steadiness that nothing can shake. There is a reason you face so many unexpected obstacles, emotional battles, and moments of inner conflict. Your life holds a depth of purpose that even your adversities recognized before you did. Every distraction that pulled at your mind, every internal tug-of-war, every sudden wave of doubt, every moment where you felt scattered or overwhelmed, they were not signs of weakness. They were signs of potential. The challenges surrounding you did not arise because you were insignificant. They arose because something powerful is awakening inside you. In this creative, symbolic conversation, understand this truth: resistance increases when breakthrough is near. The pressure you felt in recent seasons was not random chaos. It was a deliberate attempt to keep you from recognizing the strength rising within you. Distractions often target your mind because your mind holds the compass for your direction. When confusion enters, it tries to cloud your ability to recognize your worth. When exhaustion hits, it tries to drain your energy before you step into new beginnings. When unnecessary conflicts arise, They attempt to steal your focus and keep you anchored to emotional noise rather than spiritual clarity. But every time you pushed through, every time you stood back up, even if slowly, you weaken the power of these distractions. You proved that your spirit cannot be manipulated by chaos. These battles have revealed your inner resilience. They showed you what matters and what doesn't. They highlighted the relationships that support your growth and the ones that thrive on your silence. They showed you the environments where your potential expands and the ones where it suffocates. Each distraction that tried to derail you ended up becoming a filter, exposing elements of your life that were never meant to follow you into the next season. What once stole your attention now strengthens your awareness. What once overwhelmed you now clarifies your priorities. The rising within you is the reason resistance increased. You are stepping into clarity. You are stepping into confidence. You are stepping into self-respect. You are stepping into alignment. When this happens, distractions lose their power because you no longer interpret them as threats. You interpret them as indicators. They show you precisely where your focus is needed and where it needs protection. As you continue forward, you will feel more grounded, more sure of yourself, more aware of what deserves your energy. The distractions that once felt unbearable will begin to lose their influence because your spirit is maturing, your boundaries are strengthening, and your purpose is unfolding. You were not meant to crumble beneath the weight of these battles. You were meant to rise above them, carrying a clarity that outshines every attempt to pull you away from your path. If you look closely at the battles you faced, you will see a profound truth. Intense resistance often surrounds people who carry deep purpose, and the warfare you've endured is proof that your life carries weight far greater than you have fully realized. You might have wondered why certain challenges kept returning, why internal conflicts resurfaced at moments of progress, or why emotional heaviness struck right when you began to move forward. It wasn't because you were doing something wrong. It was because you were doing something right. The very presence of resistance signals that your growth threatens the patterns, environments, and emotional cycles that once kept you limited. Your progress disrupts the forces that benefit from your stagnation. So when pressure intensifies, it reveals that you are stepping into territory where your influence expands. War comes to distract, to exhaust, to confuse, to discourage. But the very fact that it keeps showing up means you are stepping into something spiritually and emotionally significant. You carry insight that exposes lies. You carry resilience that threatens limitations. You carry compassion that breaks generational patterns. You carry clarity that destabilizes fear. You carry a sense of purpose that cannot be muted. That is why pressure exists. It is a response to the power within you, not a reflection of weakness. Take a moment and reflect. Every time you rose after a setback, your spirit grew stronger. Every time you confronted truth instead of hiding from it, your awareness sharpened. Every time you refused to abandon your healing, your heart expanded. Every time you broke a cycle that generations before you surrendered to, your impact deepened. These victories were not small, they were monumental. And each one triggered resistance because each one unlocked something within you that can no longer be contained. This warfare is not a sign to give up. It is a sign that you are close to a breakthrough. Pressure always peaks before release. Emotional intensity increases before clarity arrives. Old patterns scream loudest right before they break. This is not the moment to shrink or retreat. This is the moment to recognize that your growth is disrupting every limitation that once controlled you. You carry something powerful, something that changes you, and something that will influence others. Warfare does not come to those who are empty, it comes to those who carry potential. So instead of interpreting these battles as signs of defeat, see them for what they truly are: confirmation, that you are rising into a version of yourself that fear can no longer manipulate. The power within you is awakening, and everything around you is responding to that awakening. There is a strength, a uniqueness, a depth within you that no person, no circumstance, no betrayal, no disappointment, and no season of hardship has ever been able to remove, because what is planted in your spirit is not fragile, and it was never meant to be taken. You have endured moments where it felt as if pieces of you were being stripped away, times when rejection made you question your worth, times when loss made you question your purpose, times when criticism made you question your identity, and times when life's pressure made you question whether you still carried the spark you once recognized within yourself. Yet even on the days when your confidence felt fractured, something inside you refused to disappear. That something is the part of you that was shaped through truth and endurance rather than approval or ease. In this symbolic, intimate dialogue, understand this: the gifts, resilience, intuition, and purpose woven into you are not vulnerable to external attack. They may be tested, but they cannot be taken. Throughout your journey, you've encountered people who tried to diminish your voice, environments that attempted to confine your potential, and situations that pressured you to settle for less than what you knew you were capable of. But despite these moments, your inner identity has survived every storm. You might have walked away from some seasons feeling shaken but not stripped. You may have felt bruised but not broken. You may have questioned your value, but your spirit never surrendered it. Every attempt to silence you has only revealed your ability to rise. Every effort to overshadow your gifts has only made you more aware of them. Your worth was never dependent on validation. Your calling was never dependent on circumstance. Your inner strength was never dependent on a perfect environment. And because these things were placed inside you at a level deeper than emotion, deeper than logic, deeper even than memory, they remain untouched by what happens around you. Think of all the times you thought you were losing yourself, only to discover later that your truest self had been growing quietly beneath the chaos. Think of the moments where you believed your spark had dimmed, only to find it reignite when you were ready to rise again. These awakenings are proof that what is within you cannot be stolen. It can only be revealed more clearly through challenge. You are stepping into a season where the parts of you that survived your toughest moments will begin to shine in ways you never expected. Your creativity will return with clarity. Your confidence will emerge stronger. Your discernment will feel sharper. Your compassion will deepen. Your purpose will become unmistakable. Nothing and no one has the power to remove what was placed inside you. Not fear, not doubt, not adversity. What is yours is yours. What is within you is permanent. And as you move forward, you will see this truth reflected in every step you take. There were people you wanted to keep in your life, people you tried to understand, people you invested in deeply, and people you hoped would walk with you into every new chapter. But the distance that formed, the misalignment that surfaced, or the separation that occurred was not abandonment. It was protection unfolding in ways you couldn't see at the time. You questioned why certain friendships faded, why certain romantic connections failed to stabilize, why certain partnerships dissolved, and why some people turned cold without explanation. These departures carried pain, confusion, and sometimes guilt. You wondered what you did wrong, or whether you should have tried harder, or whether you misjudged their intentions. Yet the truth is that you were being redirected. Their role in your life was temporary, not because they were unimportant, but because their presence could not support the version of you that is now emerging. Some relationships were rooted in seasons where you didn't fully understand your worth. They were built on dynamics that required you to shrink, to silence your needs, or to tolerate imbalance. As your self-awareness grew, these dynamics became unsustainable. Connection requires alignment, and alignment requires honesty, not only about who others are, but about who you are becoming. Some individuals weren't meant to join you in the next chapter because they did not grow at the pace your spirit required. Others carried intentions or emotional patterns that would have limited your future. The separation wasn't rejection, it was redirection away from connections that would have kept you small. There were also relationships you would have clung to simply because they were familiar. Familiarity feels safe, even when it isn't healthy. But comfort cannot replace growth. You needed connections that reflect your evolving boundaries, your healing, your truth, and your inner transformation. The individuals who drifted away could not match that level of depth, not because they were incapable of change, but because their journey was different from yours. In this symbolic divine voice, understand that the path you're walking requires people who bring clarity, not confusion, partnership, not pressure, nourishment, not exhaustion. Soon, as your new season unfolds, you will look back and see patterns you could not see before. You will recognize how certain relationships would have derailed your progress. You will understand why certain apologies never came. You will appreciate why certain doors stayed shut. You will realize that letting go made space for connections that uplift your purpose rather than drain your spirit. And you will meet people who reflect the healed, awakened, grounded version of yourself you are becoming. These relationships will feel peaceful, mutual, and aligned, free from the emotional weight of past imbalances. What left your life was never meant to harm you. It was meant to clear the way for what will honor you. There is a sacredness to the path you are entering, and not every person from your past can accompany you into the level of clarity, identity, and purpose forming within you now. You may feel remnants of sadness when you think about the people who once meant everything to you, the ones you built memories with, dreamed with, laughed with, or fought alongside. Some of these individuals were deeply woven into your heart, shaping pieces of your journey, and their presence was meaningful for the time it lasted. But journeys are seasonal, and as you evolve, the people who walk with you must evolve as well, where their chapter naturally concludes. This isn't an indictment of their character nor a judgment against their worth. It's simply a recognition that your paths diverged the moment your growth required a direction they could not follow. There are individuals who were meant to teach you, not accompany you forever. Others were placed in your life to awaken parts of you, to teach resilience, boundaries, vulnerability, truth, or emotional maturity. Some relationships existed to reflect wounds you needed to heal. Others existed to prepare your heart for the love and connection you will experience in the days ahead. These roles were purposeful, even when the endings were painful. But purpose does not always equal permanence. Your next season demands relationships built on authenticity, respect, emotional reciprocity, and alignment, not obligation or nostalgia. If every person stayed, your growth would stagnate. You would be carrying emotional weight never meant to travel with you. You would feel torn between honoring your evolution and protecting the comfort of others. You would feel responsible for journeys that are not yours to carry. Releasing people is not always loss. It is often liberation. It allows you to walk your path without bending yourself into shapes that no longer fit your spirit. In your next chapter, you will meet people whose presence feels like clarity instead of confusion. People who understand your boundaries instead of pushing against them. People who appreciate your growth instead of resenting it. People who encourage your purpose rather than distracting you from it. These connections will feel peaceful, mutual, and unforced. They will not demand emotional self-abandonment. They will not rely on your silence to maintain harmony. They will grow with you instead of holding you back. You are entering a chapter where your relationships will reflect your healing, not your past wounds. And as you move forward, you will notice that the absence of certain people does not feel like emptiness. It feels like space being prepared for those who are meant to walk with you now. There is a shift unfolding around you where the connections entering your life will no longer mirror the cycles of depletion you once tolerated, but instead will reflect the emotional safety, mutual respect, and genuine support your spirit has long deserved. You have spent years carrying relationships that required you to give more than you had, to absorb emotional weight that wasn't yours, or to maintain peace at the cost of your own well-being. At times, you wondered whether meaningful connection was something only others experienced while you remained on the outside, offering empathy while receiving very little in return. You tried to convince yourself that your strength was limitless, that you could keep showing up even when your own heart felt empty. But every connection that drained you was quietly teaching you what your spirit needs and what it will no longer allow. What is emerging now is a season of realignment where the people drawn into your life will match your sincerity rather than exploit it. You are learning to identify the difference between those who value your presence and those who value what you do for them. This awareness has been forming through subtle moments, recognizing when you leave a conversation feeling lighter rather than heavier, noticing when someone listens without judgment, sensing when a person's energy expands rather than collapses your internal space. These small shifts are signs of transformation. Your spirit is becoming more attuned to authenticity, and in response, life is guiding you toward people who contribute to your growth instead of consuming your strength. The ones entering this chapter will understand mutuality. They will know how to support without controlling, how to give without expecting repayment, and how to walk with you rather than ahead of you or behind you. You might still feel hesitant at times. The wounds of past relationships may cause you to question new connections before they have the chance to grow. But hesitation is not a flaw, it is a sign of wisdom. You are no longer handing over access to your heart without discernment. You are observing, listening, and measuring intention before opening your deeper self. This is part of the shift. Healthy relationships are not built through urgency. They are built through consistency. And the people who are meant to strengthen your spirit will show themselves through their steadiness, not their intensity. As these aligned connections begin entering your life, you will feel the difference immediately. You will experience conversations that bring clarity rather than confusion. You will find yourself relaxing rather than bracing. You will feel safe instead of guarded. You will notice a sense of belonging that does not demand self-abandonment. These individuals will encourage your healing, respect your boundaries, and honor the person you are becoming. They will see your depth without fearing it, and they will appreciate your strength without depending on it to fix their own unresolved wounds. This chapter of connection is not about quantity, it's about quality. You are being surrounded with people who strengthen your mind, your emotions, your peace, and your purpose. These are not temporary visitors. They are companions for the version of yourself rising now. And as they enter, your spirit will recognize them, not through fear or uncertainty, but through the unmistakable feeling of alignment. You have spent so much of your life being the strong one, the one who listens, the one who comforts, the one who stabilizes situations that were never yours to fix, that you began to believe your worth depended on how much weight you could lift for others. You took on emotional burdens out of compassion, loyalty, or habit, often ignoring your own exhaustion in the process. People came to rely on your resilience because you rarely showed your fatigue, and over time, you became the safe place for everyone else while having no safe place for yourself. This imbalance slowly shaped your identity, convincing you that sacrificing your needs was the price of being loved or valued. But that chapter is ending. The days of giving more than you receive, of being emotionally responsible for people who rarely consider your well-being, are coming to a close. You are entering a season where your kindness no longer requires self-abandonment. This shift begins with awareness, recognizing when a relationship depends entirely on your effort, when you feel depleted instead of supported, when you feel responsible for emotions or choices that aren't yours to carry. You are starting to understand the difference between empathy and self-sacrifice. You are noticing how your body responds when someone consistently drains your energy. You are learning to catch the moment your spirit contracts around certain people, signaling that the connection is not reciprocal. This awareness isn't coldness, it is maturity. It is your heart finally acknowledging that love should not cost you your identity. You are also learning the importance of boundaries, not as walls to keep people out, but as lines that protect your capacity to love without losing yourself. Boundaries are becoming easier for you because you now understand that your worth is not measured by how much you endure. You are no longer confusing loyalty with self-neglect. Your desire for peace is becoming stronger than your fear of disappointing others. This shift may feel uncomfortable at first because your past taught you to equate caretaking with connection. But connection built on imbalance is not connection. It is dependency masquerading as intimacy. As you step into this new awareness, your relationships will naturally transform. Some people will adapt and meet you with the respect you always deserve. Others will resist, because they were more attached to the version of you that expected nothing in return. But whether people adjust or fall away, the outcome will bring peace. The relationships that remain will be ones where you are valued, not used, where your presence is cherished, not expected to fix what others refuse to face. You are not losing your compassionate nature. You are learning to direct it wisely. You are not becoming distant. You are becoming balanced. You are not withdrawing love. You are protecting it. This is how you reclaim yourself. And when you stop carrying others at your own expense, you make space for relationships where you can stand beside someone, not beneath the weight of their emotional needs. Deep within you, there is a version of yourself that existed long before fear, rejection, disappointment, comparison, or criticism ever touched your heart, and that original identity, the one that is whole and grounded and true, is rising again. Throughout your life, various experiences shaped the way you saw yourself. Words spoken in anger, moments of exclusion, failures you took personally, relationships that made you question your worth. These all layered themselves over your true identity like dust covering something precious. You began to see yourself through the distortions caused by pain rather than through the truth of who you were created to be. You internalized narratives that were never yours to carry, that you had to earn love, that your value depended on how useful you were, that your emotions were weaknesses, that your dreams were unrealistic, or that your voice was too small to matter. None of these stories reflected your essence. They reflect in the places where your heart was wounded. But healing has a way of clearing what pain once concealed. Slowly, almost imperceptibly, you've begun questioning the beliefs that held you hostage. You noticed how uncomfortable it feels to shrink yourself. You recognized how wrong it feels to apologize simply for existing. You sensed that your spirit no longer agrees with narratives that diminish you. These internal shifts are signs that your true identity is returning, not the version shaped by survival, but the version shaped by authenticity. The version that is confident without arrogance, compassionate without self-denial, bold without force, and soft without fragility. Restoring identity does not mean becoming someone different. It means remembering who you were before life taught you to doubt yourself. You are rediscovering your intuition, the inner voice that was drowned out by noise. You are reconnecting with your desires, the ones you buried because they felt impractical. You are reclaiming your boundaries, the ones you compromised to keep others comfortable. You are recovering your confidence, the kind that comes from knowing your worth, not proving it. This restoration is happening from the inside out. It is subtle, steady, and transformative. As your identity strengthens, everything connected to you will begin to shift. Your decisions will reflect truth instead of insecurity. Your relationships will align with your value rather than your wounds. Your ambitions will no longer be filtered through fear. Your voice will carry weight because it is spoken from a place of clarity. Even your presence will feel different, grounded, peaceful, unmistakably whole. The world tried to define you based on moments, mistakes, and misunderstandings, but none of those things ever held the authority to name you. Your identity was never lost. It was simply buried under years of coping mechanisms, emotional scars, and false beliefs. Now the layers are being lifted. The distortions are fading. Your true self is emerging, strong, steady, wise, and deeply rooted in purpose. You are not becoming someone new. You are finally returning to who you were always meant to be. There are desires within you that never truly died, dreams you tucked away quietly, convincing yourself they were unrealistic, irresponsible, or simply too painful to hope for. But those dreams are rising again, not to torment you, but to remind you who you were before life taught you to settle. You carried those dreams during a time when you believed in possibility with an open heart, before disappointment made you cautious, before criticism made you doubt yourself, before comparison made you question your uniqueness. As you grew older, responsibilities piled upon your shoulders, unexpected challenges forced you into survival, and slowly, those dreams faded into the background. You told yourself you were being practical. You told yourself that timing had passed. You told yourself that maybe it wasn't meant for me after all. Yet every time you saw someone else living in alignment with something similar, a quiet ache formed within you, an ache that revealed the dream was not dead, only dormant. Now your spirit is entering a season where these buried visions are resurfacing, tapping gently on your awareness, asking you to reconsider what you abandoned out of fear rather than truth. These dreams carry pieces of your identity, your creativity, your imagination, your desire for purpose, your longing for impact, your hunger for joy. They were never random desires. They were whispers of the future calling you forward. Their return is not nostalgia, it is timing. You needed the wisdom you have now, the strength you've developed, the boundaries you've built, and the clarity that has been forming inside you. None of these dreams could flourish in the earlier version of your life because the soil of your spirit wasn't prepared. Now it is. As these desires rise, you may feel both excitement and fear. Excitement because something inside you recognizes truth, and fear because embracing these dreams requires vulnerability. It requires you to hope again. It requires you to trust that not every pursuit ends in disappointment. Yet the dreams resurfacing now are not calling you into recklessness. They are calling you into alignment. They come with a sense of purpose, not pressure. They come with a feeling of resonance, not confusion. They come with a depth of clarity that tells you, this is who you were always meant to be. Over time, you will begin to see pathways forming, small openings, new opportunities, encouraging conversations, unexpected ideas that point toward the fulfillment of these desires. You will notice energy returning to you as you picture your life with these dreams revived. You will feel a sense of recognition, as though you are reconnecting with a piece of yourself you've missed for years. These dreams are not naive. They are seeds, and the season you are stepping into is fertile enough to nurture them. Nothing resurfaces without purpose. What is returning to your heart now is meant to lead you toward a future that honors your deepest truth. You have walked through seasons where your progress felt invisible, where your prayers seemed unanswered, and where your efforts appeared fruitless, leading you to believe that perhaps your potential had withered, but nothing within you that was planted with purpose has ever died. Dreams may have gone quiet, passions may have softened, confidence may have wavered, hope may have dimmed, but beneath the surface of your life, something has been growing all along. Growth that happens underground is easy to misunderstand because you cannot see the roots forming. You cannot see the preparation taking place. You cannot see the internal alignment being built. But just like seeds hidden beneath soil, the work was happening in silence long before it becomes visible. When you thought you were stagnant, you were developing resilience. When you thought you were lost, you were learning discernment. When you felt forgotten, you were gaining depth. When you felt delayed, you were being refined. None of these seasons were empty. They were formative. You have been shaped, stretched, softened, strengthened, and recalibrated in ways that couldn't have happened if everything had blossomed instantly. Quick growth is often shallow. Intentional growth is steady, grounded, and enduring. The timing you longed for did not arrive when you expected, not because you were unworthy, but because premature blessings can cause collapse rather than expansion. If certain doors had opened too soon, you wouldn't have had the wisdom to navigate them. If certain relationships had appeared in the past, you might have lost yourself inside them. If certain opportunities had come earlier, you would have carried insecurities into places where confidence was required. Your appointed time is not random. It is strategic. It honors both your growth and your readiness. Now, the timing is shifting. You will begin to feel an internal stirring, a sense of momentum returning to areas of your life that once felt dormant. Ideas you dismissed will reawaken. Passions you forgot will reignite. Opportunities that once felt impossible will begin to surface. The clarity you once lacked will sharpen. This is not accidental. Your appointed time is approaching, and it will reveal that nothing was wasted. Not the waiting, not the silence, not the disappointments, not the delays. What was planted in you is alive. It has always been alive. And it is rising not by force but by divine timing, timing that ensures what grows now will last. You may feel the shift already, a subtle acceleration, a quiet awakening, a deep sense that something is aligning around you, and that feeling is not imagination. It is confirmation that your long-awaited moment is drawing near. The timing you once begged for, the clarity you prayed for, the breakthrough you could barely picture without doubting, all of it is beginning to converge in ways you could not have orchestrated on your own. Momentum is building, not chaotically, but purposefully. Paths that once felt blocked are loosening. Opportunities that once seemed distant are moving closer. Connections that resonate with your growth are forming. Even your inner world is expanding, preparing you to receive what once intimidated you. This acceleration is the sign that your appointed time is not a distant dream. It is approaching quickly. This shift may feel both exciting and unnerving. When timing changes, old doubts rise, old fears surface, and old habits attempt to pull you back into comfort. But that pull is simply evidence that you are stepping into territory larger than anything you've known before. The next chapters of your life do not resemble your past ones. They demand a fuller version of you, more aligned, more grounded, more open, more courageous. This is why your inner world has been shifting so intensely. You are being prepared to hold what is coming. You are being strengthened so the weight of your blessings does not overwhelm you. You are being awakened so your spirit recognizes the doors meant for you. There will be moments soon where things align with such fluidity that you will know without question that this timing is intentional. Conversations will open pathways. A single decision will create momentum. Ideas will spark solutions you searched for over months or years. You will meet people who play meaningful roles in your next season. You will feel a sense of purpose where confusion once lived. These breakthroughs will not require force. They will unfold with the ease of something meant to be. Do not be surprised when changes happen quickly. Do not shrink when opportunities arrive faster than your mind can reason. You are stepping into alignment after a long period of preparation, and alignment always accelerates what once felt delayed. What was will become swift. What was distant will come near. What was impossible will become natural. Your appointed time is approaching, not to overwhelm you, but to reveal what is finally ready to take shape. You have waited, endured, grown, healed, and transformed. And now, with each passing day, the momentum increases. Your time is not coming someday. It is approaching now, rapidly, purposefully, unmistakably, inviting you into the fullness of the life you were always meant to live. You are standing in a moment where opportunities you once could not access, opportunities you prayed for, hoped for, and even cried over, are beginning to unlock in ways that will feel almost surreal. And this shift is not happening by accident. It is the result of everything you have survived, learned, and become. For years, you knocked on doors that refused to open. You put effort into paths that led nowhere. You offered your heart to places that didn't recognize your value. You tried to align with environments that weren't designed for your growth. And with each closed door, you questioned yourself, wondering whether you were unworthy, whether you misheard your purpose, or whether timing simply wasn't on your side. But the truth is, some doors remained closed not because you were lacking, but because what waited behind them required a stronger, wiser, more grounded version of you. Adverian is emerging now. The opening of these doors will not be subtle. You will notice momentum building in areas that were stagnant for years. You will sense an unexpected readiness within you, the kind of readiness that doesn't come from confidence alone, but from alignment. These doors will unlock not from striving, but from resonance. They will open because your spirit finally matches the dimension of the opportunities you once reached for prematurely. What once felt like rejection now reveals itself as redirection. What once felt like delay now shows itself as preparation. The timing is shifting not because life suddenly favors you, but because you are finally in position to step through doors without losing yourself inside them. Some of the openings will come through people, individuals who recognize your voice, your abilities, your character, and your essence. Others will come through ideas that spark clarity in your mind without warning. Some will come through unexpected changes, shifts in environment, relationships, or responsibilities that create pathways you didn't know you needed. And still others will come through closed chapters finally finding resolution, giving you emotional space to move freely again. These openings will unfold in ways that feel natural, almost effortless, because they are connected to who you truly are rather than who you tried to be. Do not feel intimidated as these doors open. You may feel the old fear rising, fear of being seen, fear of failure, fear of responsibility, fear of stepping into something bigger than anything you've held before. That fear is not a warning. It is a sign that you are stepping into territory your spirit has been preparing for quietly. Let yourself breathe. Let yourself adjust. Let yourself grow into these new rooms. What is opening for you now is not fragile. It is fortified. It is meant to hold you, support you, and expand you. The doors that once rejected you are not the doors opening now. These new doors match your identity, your healing, your maturity, and your purpose. And as you walk through them, you will understand why all the locked doors of your past could never have held the future unfolding before you. You are entering a time where outcomes will begin to unfold with a grace and ease that feels far beyond your own strength. And this is not coincidence. It is favor rising around you like an unseen wind pushing you forward. You've lived much of your life working hard for every step, pushing through resistance, fighting internal battles, and holding your world together even when you felt like you were falling apart on the inside. You endured seasons where nothing seemed to work, no matter how much effort you invested. You questioned why progress came slowly, why support felt distant, and why doors remained closed even when you knocked faithfully. But the tide is shifting now. The energy around your life is changing, and what required struggle before will now unfold with a fluidity that feels almost miraculous. Favor doesn't mean everything becomes easy. Favor means things begin aligning without the strain that once exhausted you. It means the right people arrive without being chased. It means the right opportunities find their way to you without desperate effort. It means conversations open pathways you could never have created by force. It means peace begins to anchor your spirit even in moments where uncertainty remains. Favor is not luck. It is alignment with timing, identity, and purpose converging at the same moment. And you are stepping into the convergence now. You will notice small signs first, moments where something works out unexpectedly, where someone encourages you at precisely the right time, where you receive clarity that once eluded you, where you feel a strength rising in your spirit before you can explain it. These are confirmations that favor is approaching. Soon, these moments will expand into larger openings, opportunities that match your calling, relationships that uplift rather than drain, financial or emotional breakthroughs, new directions that feel undeniably right. Every part of this unfolding is intentional. Favor does not arrive because you earned it. It arrives because you are finally capable of carrying it. This favor will not inflate your ego. It will stabilize your identity. It will remind you that you were never as far behind as you feared. It will show you that the struggle did not diminish your future. It prepared you to handle it with maturity. It will quiet the inner voice that once whispered you were unworthy or inadequate. Favor exposes the truth. You were always being shaped for something greater. Walk gently into this season with open hands. Do not sabotage these blessings with doubt. Do not question whether you deserve them. Do not shrink as opportunities arrive. Allow yourself to receive what has been waiting for you. Favor is not a reward. It is alignment. And now that you are aligned, the path ahead will begin to open in ways you once believed were impossible. What is unfolding now is not a small upgrade to your life. It is a sweeping expansion that touches your mind, your confidence, your relationships, your stability, your opportunities, and even the way you see yourself. And this increase will arrive in forms you once believed were out of reach. For so long, life demanded that you operate in survival, that you make do with little, that you stretch yourself thin emotionally, financially, spiritually, or mentally. You learned how to function with limited support, limited clarity, limited encouragement, and limited resources. You adapted. You survived. But survival is not your destiny. You were never meant to stay in a state of barely enough. The increase approaching your life will not only lift you out of strain, it will redefine your sense of what is possible. Increase begins internally. You will notice a shift in the way you carry yourself, a deeper assurance in your worth, a stronger awareness of your boundaries, and a clearer sense of what aligns with your purpose. This internal expansion is not subtle. It touches everything. From that place, external increase follows naturally. Opportunities begin to multiply. Ideas strengthen. Creativity flows. Stability forms. Provision arrives from unexpected places. Even relationships shift to reflect your growth. attracting people who match your new level of clarity rather than your old level of woundedness. This realm of increase doesn't arrive through striving, it arrives through readiness. You are no longer the person who doubts your ability to grow. You are no longer the person who settles for half-fulfilled dreams. You are no longer the person who hides your potential for fear of being judged. Increase cannot land on a foundation of shrinking. It lands where expansion has already begun. And whether you fully realized it or not, your spirit has been expanding for months, stretching beyond old patterns, breaking emotional cycles, releasing distorted identities, and creating room for something larger. Do not mistake this increase for coincidence. It is the direct result of your endurance, your healing, your courage, and your willingness to step into truth even when truth felt uncomfortable. You paid the emotional price for this increase through countless nights of reflection, difficult decisions, painful releases, and the determination to keep moving forward when you felt empty. Every tear, every lesson, every boundary, every moment of growth has prepared you for what is coming. You are about to witness expansion in ways you once dismissed as unrealistic. The increase will touch areas of your life that have been barren for far too long. It will bring fulfillment to desires you never voiced aloud. It will create opportunities that feel tailor-made for your identity. It will confirm that nothing you endured was wasted. This increase is not temporary. It is foundational. And as you step into it, you will understand why every limitation, delay, and hardship had to break before this season could begin. There are invisible agreements you made with fear, pain, doubt, and past experiences. Agreements formed in moments of exhaustion and discouragement. And now those limitations are breaking off of you one by one because they no longer match the person you are becoming. You've lived through seasons where life demanded survival rather than expansion, and in those seasons you settled for beliefs that kept you safe, but also kept you small. You convinced yourself that certain dreams were too much. You taught yourself to expect disappointment so it wouldn't hurt as deeply. You agreed, silently, to dim your brilliance because brighter expressions of yourself might attract criticism. You accepted roles, identities, and responsibilities that served earlier versions of you but were never meant to follow you into your future. None of these agreements were sins, they were shields. Shields that once protected you but now restrict your growth. This breaking of limitations begins within your awareness. You started to notice the subtle discomfort that surfaces whenever you attempt to shrink yourself to make others comfortable. You felt the internal resistance each time you consider returning to old patterns that once felt familiar. You've recognized moments where your intuition urges you towards something larger even when your mind hesitates. These signals are evidence that you have outgrown the emotional agreements you inherited or formed. They no longer align with the truth rising in your spirit. And as you continue to awaken, these limitations are dissolving, not through force, but through clarity. You are learning that you do not need to apologize for wanting more. You do not need permission to grow beyond the expectations of those who preferred a quieter version of you. You do not need to justify your dreams to people who never had the capacity to see them. You are stepping out of patterns that kept you bound to emotional ceilings. Ceilings you didn't build, but ceilings you learned to accept. These ceilings are cracking now. You can feel the pressure. You can sense something shifting. That shift is your liberation taking form. Soon, you will notice yourself naturally resisting the thoughts that once confined you. You will challenge beliefs that once controlled you. You will confront fears that once dictated your decisions. You will walk away from narratives that once defined you. This is not a rebellion. It is a return to your authentic self. Your spirit is reclaiming the freedom it always possessed, the freedom that false limitations tried to suppress. The release taking place marks the beginning of a new chapter. You are no longer bound to the versions of yourself created through survival. You are rising into the version created through truth. And as these limitations fall away, you will feel a lightness, a clarity, and a confidence you haven't felt in years. You are being restored to your full capacity, and nothing will limit you now. Not fear, not memory, not expectation. Only truth will guide your steps from here. There is a part of you that has always known you were meant for more, but that same part also felt the weight of expectation, pressure, and visibility, and the fear of stepping fully into your potential created a silent battle inside you for far too long. You've wrestled with the tension of wanting expansion while fearing the responsibility that comes with it. You've questioned whether becoming more visible would attract scrutiny. You've wondered whether success might isolate you. You've worried that stepping into your calling might require strength or wisdom you weren't sure you had. These fears were not signs of weakness. They were signs of depth. You understood instinctively that living at your fullest capacity is not a small endeavor. It transforms everything. However, the season you are entering requires you to step beyond these internal barriers. Your potential has waited patiently, but now it refuses to sit silently in the shadows of your fears. This shift is not about ambition. It is about alignment. You are being prepared emotionally, mentally, and spiritually to carry the fullness of who you are. The uncertainty you feel is simply the stretching of your identity into a space it has always been destined to inhabit. You no longer need the permission of others to rise. You no longer need reassurance to embrace your power. The version of you that feared being too much is dissolving. The version ready to lead, create, build, love, and influence is emerging. Fear loses its strength when truth becomes louder than insecurity. And truth is rising within you now. You are beginning to recognize that your potential is not a threat, it's a gift. You are learning that stepping into your fullest self does not make you arrogant, it makes you authentic. You are uncovering the reality that your potential does not isolate you, it attracts the right people. It calls forth supporters, helpers, teachers, and companions who see your growth as a mirror of their own. As you embrace your potential, new courage will rise within you. You will take risks not because you're fearless, but because your purpose outweighs your fear. You will speak boldly not because you seek attention, but because truth has settled into your bones. You will pursue dreams not because you're guaranteed success, but because you finally understand that your spirit was not designed to remain small. This deliverance is not a moment. It's a process unfolding day by day. Yet each day the fear weakens. Each day your voice strengthens. Each day your potential feels less intimidating and more familiar. And soon you will look at yourself and realize you have become someone who steps into opportunities with confidence, courage, and conviction. You are not just stepping into your potential, you are becoming it. There are blessings, opportunities, and breakthroughs headed your way that carry significant weight. Not the weight of burden, but the weight of responsibility, influence, and growth. And I am strengthening you internally so these things do not overwhelm you when they arrive. You have prayed for clarity, stability, favor, abundance, deeper relationships, and a sense of purpose that feels genuine. You have dreamed of a life where peace is constant and success flows naturally. You have envisioned freedom from cycles that drained you. But what you may not have realized is that every prayer comes with preparation. The blessings you asked for require structure, resilience, discipline, and emotional maturity to handle sustainably. Without this foundation, even good things can become overwhelming. That is why your inner world has felt pressure in recent seasons, not as punishment but as strengthening. You were being prepared for the life you asked for. You were learning how to manage emotions before the responsibility of new opportunities arrived. You were gaining wisdom before stepping into environments that require discernment. You were developing boundaries before encountering relationships that need clarity. You were building endurance before handling dreams that require long-term commitment. Nothing you have walked through has been wasted. Every challenge strengthened a part of you that will be essential for your next season. Consider the moments when you felt stretched beyond comfort. Those moments built endurance. Think about the times when you confronted fears that once controlled you. Those moments built courage. Think about the relationships you released. Those decisions build discernment. Think about the emotions you processed honestly. Those moments build stability. Everything contributed to your readiness, even the painful moments you tried to escape. Your next season will not be carried by the old version of you, the one who doubted their worth, who questioned their intuition, who feared being seen, or who hesitated to stand firmly in truth. Your next season requires the version of you that is growing now, the grounded one, the wise one, the courageous one, the healed one. That is why the strengthening continues even when you feel tired. Your spirit is being shaped into someone capable of holding blessings without losing identity, holding responsibility without burnout, holding success without fear, and holding love without self-abandonment. When the breakthroughs arrive, and they will not overwhelm you. They will fit you. They will match the maturity you have cultivated. They will rest on the foundation you have built through every moment of perseverance. You are not being prepared to struggle. You are being prepared to sustain. The strengthening is not punishment, it is investment. And soon, you will see why this preparation was necessary. You will look at what unfolds and understand. This is what I prayed for, and I am strong enough to hold it. You are entering a season where your decisions carry greater weight, and because of this, I am guiding you toward a deeper wisdom, one that rises from clarity rather than emotion, so your future is built on foundations that will not collapse under pressure. You have lived through moments when impulse felt like your only option. Times when the urgency of fear pushed you into choices that weren't aligned with your true needs. Times when loneliness made you reach for connections that drained rather than nourished you. Times when frustration made you accept less than what you deserved, simply because you wanted the discomfort to end. These reactions were human, shaped through pain and survival. But now that your life is shifting into purpose, those impulsive patterns cannot travel with you. You are being taught to pause, reflect, and act from a place of inner alignment rather than emotional urgency. This wisdom is not about becoming cautious to the point of paralysis. It is about becoming intentional. You are learning how to listen to the difference between the voice of your wounds and the voice of your healing. You are beginning to sense when a decision feels right in your spirit even if your mind is still catching up. You are realizing that wisdom isn't about knowing everything. It's about discerning the truth hidden beneath surface appearances. Even now, your inner world is shifting. You're becoming more sensitive to red flags, more aware of your patterns, more willing to ask yourself hard questions, and more committed to making decisions that align with who you want to become rather than who you used to be. This transformation also involves releasing the fear that you will repeat past mistakes. You are not the same person you once were. The lessons you learned have rewired your responses. The boundaries you've gained have reshaped your expectations. The healing you've embraced has strengthened your emotional muscles. Wisdom grows from experience, and you've accumulated more insight than you give yourself credit for. Even when you feel unsure, the truth is that your discernment is sharper now than at any other point in your life. The decisions you make moving forward will reflect that growth. As this wisdom deepens, you will notice changes in the way you approach relationships, opportunities, responsibilities, and even your own desires. You will no longer rush toward what feels familiar if it doesn't align with your well-being. You will no longer chase after connections that fail to honor your value. You will feel a natural pull toward environments that support your growth. Your steps will be steady, intentional, and deeply grounded. This is not slowness. It is strategy. It is strength. It is wisdom forming a foundation that will support every blessing coming your way. Your future is too significant to be built on impulse. That is why the transformation happening within you now is essential. Wisdom is becoming your compass, and with it, every step you take will lead you closer to the life that reflects your truth. There are chapters in your life that are quietly closing, not to punish you or deprive you, but to free you from attachments that can no longer support the person you are becoming. And I am giving you the strength to let go without regret. Letting go has always been one of the most difficult parts of your journey. You form deep bonds. You care wholeheartedly. You give generously. You invest emotionally. And because of that, releasing anything, whether it's a relationship, an identity, a dream, a habit, or even a belief, comes with grief. You feel the weight of endings intensely. You question yourself, wondering if you tried hard enough or waited long enough. But the truth you are stepping into now is that letting go is often an act of courage, not failure. It is recognition that certain pieces of your past cannot follow you into a future that required your full strength. Some of what you've held onto began as comfort but became confinement. Some relationships stabilized you during moments of vulnerability, but now limit your growth. Some roles once gave you purpose but now drain your energy. Some patterns once protected you but now prevent you from expanding emotionally or spiritually. You have outgrown many things quietly, and this subtle outgrowing is your spirit's way of telling you that it is time to release what cannot evolve with you. The strength to let go is rising inside you, not the cold, detached kind of strength, but the grounded strength that understands endings create room for beginnings. You are starting to see that holding on tightly does not preserve what is meant to stay. You only exhaust your energy. True connections, true opportunities, and true purpose grow with you. Anything that refuses to grow will naturally fall away. You are learning to honor these shifts without forcing what no longer fits. You may feel sadness as you release old chapters, but this sadness is not emptiness. It is cleansing. It is the emotional acknowledgement that you are transitioning into something new. And the new chapter forming in front of you requires emotional capacity, mental clarity, and spiritual freedom. You cannot step into it carrying things that weigh your spirit down. As you let go, you will feel a surprising sense of peace, a quiet lightness, a sense of space in your heart that feels unfamiliar yet comforting. This space is not loss, it is preparation. It is making room for people who will honor your growth, for opportunities aligned with your purpose, and for experiences that reflect your healing. Letting go is not the end of your story. It is the clearing of your path. And you are strong enough now to release what once felt impossible to walk away from. There is a deep and transformative healing rising within you, one that will not merely soothe your wounds, but will reshape the way you interpret your story, allowing you to see your past not as a collection of failures or traumas, but as a pathway that shaped your strength, compassion, and wisdom. You have carried burdens from your past for years, moments you replayed in your mind, regrets that weighed on your chest, unresolved emotions that resurfaced without warning. These memories shaped your perception of yourself. Some made you doubt your worth. Others convinced you that you were broken. Others made you fear repeating old patterns. But healing is coming in a way you may not expect. It is not arriving as forgetfulness or denial. It is arriving as understanding, as clarity, as the ability to look at your past through a lens that honors your survival rather than shames your mistakes. This healing will allow you to see that the pain you carried was never a sign of weakness. It was a sign of depth. It will reveal that the heartbreaks you endured taught you boundaries, empathy, and discernment. It will show that the disappointments you faced redirected you toward paths you never would have chosen otherwise. It will help you understand that the versions of yourself you once resented were doing the best they could with the knowledge they had. Healing doesn't erase what happened, it transforms what it means to you. As this healing unfolds, emotional burdens you've carried for years will begin to loosen their grip. Memories that once triggered pain will begin to trigger gratitude for how far you've come. Patterns you once repeated unconsciously will break because you finally understand their root. You will see your younger self not with judgment, but with compassion. You will realize that every version of you, strong or wounded, confident or confused, was essential to your growth. This shift in perspective will change how you move forward. You will make decisions with confidence instead of fear. You will enter relationships with clarity instead of insecurity. You will express yourself without the old fear of being misunderstood. You will trust your worth without needing external validation. Healing changes everything because it changes how you interpret everything. There will come a moment when you look back and genuinely thank yourself for surviving what once shattered you. And when that moment comes, you will understand that healing was not delayed, it was deepening. It was preparing you to move into a future no longer shaped by the wounds of your past, but by the wisdom you gained through them. Your past will no longer haunt you. It will illuminate you. And this healing, finally, will allow you to move freely into the life waiting ahead. There is a tender place inside you that has carried the quiet ache of feeling overlooked. Moments when you longed to be chosen, valued, and deeply understood, yet instead found yourself standing on the sidelines of relationships, opportunities, and seasons of life, wondering if your presence truly mattered. This wound grew slowly over time, shaped through experiences where your efforts were ignored, your emotions dismissed, or your voice overshadowed by louder personalities and stronger demands. You learned to adapt by staying small, by keeping your needs quiet, by pretending certain things didn't hurt as deeply as they did. But beneath those quiet compromises lived a longing to be fully seen, not for what you could provide, fix, or offer, but for who you genuinely are. This longing is not weakness. It is the imprint of your humanity. And now, in this symbolic divine voice, I am addressing that part of you directly. You were never invisible. Your worth was never measured by how others responded to you. Their inability to see your depth was never a reflection of your value. It was a reflection of their own limitation. The healing coming to this wound will not be shallow or temporary. It will move through the subtle areas where insecurity formed, through the moments where you question whether you were enough, through the memories where others failed to recognize the beauty, loyalty, kindness, and sincerity you offered freely. Healing will not erase those moments, but it will remove the sting they left behind. You will begin to realize that the times you felt overlooked did not diminish your worth. They preserved it for environments capable of honoring it. What once felt like rejection will begin to look more like protection. What once felt like absence will become clarity. As this healing deepens, you will start to see yourself differently. You will stop apologizing for your needs. You will stop shrinking to make space for people who never tried to make space for you. You will recognize that you were never meant to chase validation from places that could not hold your value. You will learn to speak with confidence, to express your emotions without shame, and to trust that you deserve relationships and environments where your presence is welcomed, not tolerated. This shift will not make you proud. It will make you whole. With time, you will notice new people entering your life, people who listen with sincerity, who notice the small details, who appreciate your depth, who value your consistency, and who respond to your heart with the same attentiveness you have always offered. These connections will feel different because they are aligned with your healing rather than your wounds. They will reinforce what your spirit already knows. You are worthy of being seen, heard, chosen, and cherished. The ache within you is being healed, not by erasing your past, but by revealing a truth that transforms it. You were never unseen. You were simply waiting to be recognized by the right eyes, in the right season, for the right purpose. That season is unfolding now. There is a quiet trembling inside you whenever love draws near, an instinct to guard yourself, to retreat, to prepare for disappointment, because your heart has tasted the sting of misplaced trust, fractured connections, and emotional uncertainty, and now you fear that opening up again might lead to the same pain. You learn to protect yourself by avoiding vulnerability, by keeping certain emotions hidden, by convincing yourself that independence was safer than intimacy. These defenses were born from heartbreak, not pride. You simply wanted to avoid repeating the emotional devastation that once left you shattered. Yet beneath your guardedness, there remains a profound desire, the desire to love freely and to be loved deeply. Your heart is not closed, it is cautious. And now, healing is coming in a way that softens the walls without destroying your sense of safety. This restoration will not rush you. It will meet you gently, creating space for your fears to be acknowledged rather than suppressed. You will begin to understand that fear does not have to be the gatekeeper of your relationships. As healing settles into your spirit, you will feel your heart becoming lighter, not because the past is forgotten, but because the past has finally been integrated into a story that no longer controls you. Your heart is learning, slowly but surely, that love does not always lead to loss, that vulnerability is not equivalent to danger, and that real connection is built through mutual safety, not sacrifice. This restoration will also change the kind of relationships you choose. You will stop gravitating toward people who require you to prove your worth. You will no longer be drawn to emotional unpredictability disguised as passion. You will recognize unhealthy patterns before they take root. You will desire peace more than drama, honesty more than intensity, consistency more than chaos. And when real love appears, steady, kind, respectful, you will feel your heart relax instead of tense. That relaxation is the evidence of healing. In the coming season, love will not feel like a battlefield. It will feel like alignment. Conversations will feel warm rather than draining. Emotional connection will bring clarity instead of confusion. Vulnerability will feel safe rather than terrifying. You will not lose yourself trying to maintain someone else's affection. Instead, you will find a partnership that honors your growth and mirrors your maturity. Your heart is not broken, it is evolving. And this healing is preparing you to receive love as it was always meant to be experienced, freely, fearlessly, and without the shadows of your past haunting your future. There are weights on your spirit that you've carried for so long that you began to believe they were simply part of your identity, responsibilities that were never yours, guilt that never belonged to you, emotional burdens you absorbed to keep peace, and expectations placed on you by others who never considered the cost to your well-being. You've carried these burdens quietly, often without acknowledgement. You stepped into roles out of necessity, not desire. You stabilized situations that others created. You carried the emotional load of relationships where you were expected to be the strong one, even when your own strength was depleted. This exhaustion didn't come from weakness. It came from carrying too much for too long. In this symbolic divine voice, hear this clearly. These burdens are lifting. You are being freed from what was never yours to hold. This release begins when you recognize the difference between compassion and responsibility. You can care for others without carrying their pain as your own. You can support people without becoming their foundation. You can love deeply without sacrificing the stability of your inner world. You do not exist to absorb the consequences of someone else's avoidance. You do not exist to patch wounds that others refuse to address. And you do not exist to maintain peace at the cost of your mental and emotional health. The burdens leaving your spirit now were never assignments, they were weights. As these burdens lift, you may feel guilt at first, because you are so accustomed to holding everything together. You may question whether you're abandoning people or becoming selfish. But this shift is not abandonment, it is balance. It is the recognition that your well-being matters, that your needs are valid, and that your life cannot flourish when you are constantly drained. When the weight releases, you will feel a clarity you haven't experienced in years. You will notice energy returning. You will feel lighter, mentally and emotionally. You will sleep more peacefully. Your mind will quiet. Your spirit will breathe. This freedom will also reveal the truth about your relationships. Some people will begin carrying their own responsibilities for the first time. Others may fall away because they depended on your exhaustion. Those who remain will adapt in healthy, balanced ways. Your presence will no longer be defined by what you can fix. It will be defined by who you are, your authenticity, your wisdom, your compassion, your strength. You were never meant to carry the world on your shoulders. Your soul is stepping into a season where the weight lifts, the pressure eases, and the responsibilities that shaped your exhaustion give way to peace. You are being released. And once this release settles into your spirit, you will never again mistake burden-bearing for love. There are patterns in your life, emotional, relational, behavioral, even spiritual, that have repeated themselves for so long that you began to wonder if they were simply part of your destiny. But those cycles are being shattered now, because you are no longer the person who was once trapped inside them. You've lived through familiar loops, the same kinds of relationships, the same emotional triggers, the same financial struggles, the same internal battles that seem to reappear regardless of where you move, who you love it, or how hard you tried to change. These patterns were not born out of weakness. They were born out of wounds. Wounds that shaped your decisions, influenced your boundaries, and trained your nervous system to expect what it had always known. But what your past taught you is not the truth your future requires. And so, in this symbolic divine voice, I am bringing you into a season where those old loops finally lose their power. This breaking begins with awareness, moments where you suddenly see the pattern clearly instead of walking through it blindly. You might notice how your body tenses around certain conversations, how your instincts warn you before your mind catches up, or how your spirit grows restless in environments you once tolerated. These reactions are not signs of fragility, they are signs of awakening. You are recognizing what no longer aligns with your healing, and that recognition alone weakens the cycle's influence. You are beginning to choose differently, speak differently, and respond differently. These small shifts are not accidental. They are part of your liberation. As these cycles break, you will feel a mixture of grief and relief. Grief because familiar patterns, even painful ones, can feel like home. Relief because your spirit has longed for freedom. There may be moments when old triggers resurface, but they will no longer control you. You will pause where you once reacted. You will reflect where you once spiraled. You will walk away where you once clung. Even your relationships will shift as these cycles lose their influence. Some connections will strengthen because they support your growth, while others will fall away because they relied on your old patterns to survive. The breaking of these cycles will bring clarity to areas where you once felt confusion. You will understand why certain doors closed, why certain people drifted, and why certain opportunities were delayed. You will realize that nothing was withheld from you, You were being guided out of loops that would have consumed your potential. This freedom will unfold gradually but undeniably, and soon you will look at your life and see a pattern of victory where there was once a pattern of survival. The cycles that held you are losing their power now. What once felt inevitable will become unimaginable. You are stepping into a version of yourself that no longer repeats the past. You are creating a future built on healing, awareness, and truth. And the chains that bound you for years are breaking in places you never believed they could. There have been countless moments when your intuition whispered truth, nudged you gently, or stirred discomfort inside you. Yet you silenced those signals because you doubted yourself or feared the consequences of acknowledging what you already sensed. Now, I am sharpening your discernment so your inner wisdom becomes impossible to ignore. You have always had the ability to perceive deeper realities beneath the surface. Subtle shifts in tone, misaligned intentions, emotional inconsistencies. But life taught you to doubt your instincts. You were taught to be reasonable, to overlook discomfort, to give others the benefit of the doubt even when your spirit felt uneasy. And in doing so, you often betrayed your own knowing. Not because you were foolish, but because you believed that trusting others was more noble than trusting yourself. But discernment is not suspicion. Discernment is clarity. It is the knowing that rises before evidence, the insight that emerges before explanation. It is your spirit recognizing patterns that your mind has not yet processed. The strengthening happening inside you now is guiding you back to that instinctive wisdom, the wisdom that protected you long before you had language for what you felt. You will begin noticing feelings you once ignored, the sudden heaviness in your chest around certain people, the uneasiness when someone's words don't match their actions, the calmness that signals alignment, the restlessness that signals caution. These reactions are messages, not misunderstandings. This sharpened discernment will transform the way you engage with the world. You will detect manipulation early. You will recognize authenticity quickly. You will sense emotional misalignment before it becomes entanglement. You will know when someone is speaking truth, when someone is hiding something, and when someone is projecting their own pain onto you. This clarity is not meant to create fear. It is meant to create freedom. You are being trained to trust yourself so deeply that no external voice can override your inner truth. As discernment strengthens, you will find yourself making choices with greater confidence. You will walk away from situations that once confused you. You will protect your peace with ease. You will choose relationships grounded in honesty rather than fantasy. Your gut feelings will no longer feel like vague impressions. They will feel like clear guidance. This clarity will not only protect you from harm, it will guide you toward the people, opportunities, and environments that align with your identity and your future. Discernment is becoming your foundation now. It will sharpen your vision, strengthen your boundaries, and protect your spirit. You will no longer ignore your inner voice. You will trust it, honor it, and follow it, and in doing so, you will walk paths that lead to peace rather than regret. You are entering a moment where clarity about the people around you will intensify, where intentions will surface, where true loyalty will become visible, where hidden motives will be exposed, and where the fog that once surrounded certain relationships will finally lift so you can move forward without second-guessing. You have carried the weight of uncertainty for a long time, wondering who genuinely supports you, who silently resents your growth, who values your presence, and who only values your convenience. This uncertainty has drained your energy, clouded your decisions, and made you hesitant to trust. But now, you are stepping into a season where that confusion is being removed. The truth about every connection in your life is coming to light, not to hurt you, but to free you. This revelation will not be dramatic. It will be quiet, gradual, unmistakable. You will notice whose energy feels safe and whose presence makes your spirit shrink. You will see who encourages your growth and who subtly discourages it. You will observe who shows consistency and who only appears when they need something. This clarity will become impossible to ignore. Even the conversations you have will reveal truth. Some will feel nourishing, others will feel draining. Some will create peace, others will create tension. These emotional cues are part of the unveiling process. Your spirit is being shown what your mind has struggled to admit. This clarity will affect your relationships in profound ways. You will step closer to the people who truly value you, those who celebrate your progress. Respect your boundaries, speak to your potential, and support your healing. These relationships will feel like alignment, ease, and mutuality. At the same time, you will naturally drift away from those whose presence no longer aligns with your well-being. You will release connections that thrive on your silence, your people-pleasing, or your availability rather than your authenticity. Some relationships will fade peacefully, others may fall away abruptly. But every shift will be guided, timely, and necessary. As truth becomes clearer, you will stop romanticizing red flags. You will stop excusing harmful behavior. You will stop absorbing responsibility that does not belong to you. You will no longer cling to connections out of loneliness or fear. Instead, you will move with confidence, choosing relationships based on alignment rather than attachment. This clarity will protect your future. It will give you peace. It will make space for people who recognize, honor, and cherish the person you are becoming. You are not losing people, you are losing confusion. And what remains after the revelation will be real, steady, nourishing, and true. There is a shift happening beneath the surface of your life, so subtle yet so powerful, that it is redirecting your path away from the circular patterns that once consumed your energy and into a straight, intentional, forward-moving direction that will make sense in ways nothing before ever has. You have wandered through seasons where progress felt like sand slipping through your hands. You tried, you pushed, you planned, you poured out effort, yet somehow you found yourself ending up in places strikingly similar to where you began. This cycle made you question your discernment, your timing, your decisions, even your identity. You wondered whether something was wrong with you because despite your desire to move forward, life kept looping you back to familiar disappointments, familiar emotional battles, familiar relational dynamics, familiar fears. But what you did see then is what you're beginning to see now. Not every direction was meant for you. Some paths were never meant to lead anywhere because they existed only to teach you what alignment feels like and what misalignment costs you. This new alignment is not based on striving, but on clarity. You are learning the difference between forcing doors open and walking through the ones meant for you. You are becoming sensitive to the internal tension that warns you this is not your path, and equally sensitive to the inner peace that whispers, this is where you belong. This shift in guidance doesn't come from overthinking, it comes from your spirit maturing. You're no longer looking for validation from outcomes, you're looking for resonance. And resonance will never lead you in circles. It leads you forward. As your steps align, you will begin noticing a new sense of ease, not because life is suddenly effortless, but because you are no longer fighting yourself. The decisions you make will sit more comfortably in your soul. The opportunities you choose will feel like expansions, not compromises. The relationships you invest in will feel balanced instead of draining. Even your internal dialogue will shift, moving from self-doubt to self-trust. This trust is essential because your spirit is guiding you with greater accuracy now, and that guidance will take you places you once believed were out of reach. You are no longer wondering, you are journeying. You are no longer guessing, you are discerning. You are no longer wasting energy on things that lead nowhere. You are being directed toward what has purpose, longevity, and alignment. And soon, you will look back at the loops that once frustrated you and realize they were preparing you for a path where every step matters, every choice carries meaning, and every movement takes you closer to the life that has been waiting for you. There has been a storm inside you, waves of emotion, internal conflict, highs followed by sudden lows, moments of courage mixed with moments of fear. And now I am calming that internal storm so you can finally move through life with clarity, confidence, and emotional steadiness rather than survival mode reactions. You have spent years trying to navigate emotions that often felt too heavy, too unpredictable, too consuming. Some days you felt invincible. Other days you felt like you could barely hold yourself together. These internal fluctuations weren't a sign that something was wrong with you. They were signs that your heart had been carrying more than any one person was designed to hold. Emotions buried, ignored, or misunderstood always resurface. They rise not to torment you, but to guide you. And now, in this season, they are being brought into balance so your spirit can move freely again. Destabilization does not mean you won't feel deeply. You have always been someone with a profound emotional capacity. It means that you will no longer be overwhelmed by what you feel. Your emotions will no longer be the loudest voice in your life. They will become guides instead of dictators. You will notice yourself recognizing emotional triggers before they pull you downward. You will be able to pause instead of react. You will understand your own patterns with clarity rather than confusion. This stability is not coldness, it is maturity. It is strength. It is the restoration of control over your inner world. As your emotions stabilize, your confidence will begin to rise in ways you haven't experienced in years. Decisions that once felt overwhelming will become manageable. Conversations you once avoided will feel easier to navigate. Situations that used to leave you anxious will no longer hold the same power. You will walk with a grounded sense of self, not because life becomes perfect, but because your internal world is no longer in chaos. Emotional stability doesn't erase pain. It contextualizes it. It doesn't eliminate vulnerability. It strengthens it. It doesn't make you numb. It makes you wise. This emotional grounding will also transform the way you relate to others. You will no longer internalize their moods, absorb their burdens, or confuse their behavior with your worth. You will respond instead of react, speak truth instead of silence, and stand firm instead of wavering. And in doing so, you will attract relationships built on intention rather than emotional volatility. Your emotions are not your enemy. They are your compass. And now that they are stabilizing, you will finally walk with the confidence of someone who trusts themselves, honors their boundaries, and moves through life with a steady heart rather than a shaken spirit. There is a transformation unfolding inside your mind, a cleansing, a clearing, a righting that is breaking the inner patterns of doubt, fear, overthinking, and self-criticism that once held you hostage, so your thoughts can finally support your growth instead of sabotaging it. For years, your mind has been shaped by old wounds, past disappointments, and the expectations of others. These influences created thought cycles that convinced you to settle, convinced you to fear the worst, convinced you to question your intuition, convinced you that you were not worthy of more. You became accustomed to narratives that played on repeat. What if I fail? What if I'm not enough? What if this ends badly? These thoughts felt like truth, but they were simply echoes of experiences that hurt you. They were familiar, not accurate. And now, those mental patterns are being rewritten. This renewal doesn't come through force, it comes through revelation. You are beginning to notice how certain thoughts rise from fear rather than wisdom. You are recognizing the difference between intuition and anxiety. You are learning to question, the internal voice that speaks with the tone of past pain. These shifts are subtle yet powerful. As your mind renews, you will catch yourself stopping negative spirals before they take over. You will replace self-criticism with self-awareness. You will speak to yourself with compassion instead of harshness. Your thoughts will begin to align with the truth of who you are, not the fear of who you once were. This mental renewal will bring a clarity you haven't felt in years. You will start to see possibilities instead of obstacles. You will approach challenges with strategy instead of panic. You will dream without immediately imagining failure. You will trust your ability to make decisions. You will feel safe inside your own mind, a feeling that may be unfamiliar, but is deeply transformative. As your thoughts shift, your life will shift with them. Emotional heaviness will lift because your mind will no longer magnify fear. Relationships will deepen because you will no longer assume the worst. Opportunities will become clearer because you will no longer talk yourself out of them. You will step into new seasons with confidence, not because circumstances are perfect, but because your internal narrative finally supports the person you are becoming. Your mind is not broken, it is renewing. It is waking up to truth. It is shedding old programming. It is aligning with your purpose. And as this renewal continues, you will find yourself thinking, choosing, speaking, and dreaming like someone who is finally free. There is a quiet reconstruction happening inside you, a rebuilding of your sense of worth, your sense of identity, your sense of value. Because for too long you lived with a version of yourself that believed you had to earn love, prove your importance, or justify your existence. And now that false foundation is being replaced with truth. You have carried so many moments where people treated you as if you were replaceable, moments when your effort went unnoticed, moments when your kindness was taken advantage of, moments when your loyalty was taken for granted. These experiences created cracks in the way you saw yourself, slowly convincing you that you needed to settle for less, tolerate more than you should, or remain silent just to be accepted. But your worth was never diminished by what others failed to recognize. Their inability to appreciate your heart did not lower its value. You simply met people who did not have the capacity to see the fullness of who you are. Now your worth is being restored, slowly, steadily, deeply. This restoration does not come from external validation. It comes from within. It rises each time you honor your boundaries instead of betraying them. It strengthens each time you say no when something does not align with your peace. It grows each time you choose honesty over people-pleasing. It expands each time you recognize that you deserve reciprocity, respect, and genuine care. This inner rebuilding will feel like remembering a truth you knew once as a child but forgot along the way, that you were created with value, not given value based on performance or perfection. As this restoration settles into your spirit, you will begin to respond differently to the world around you. Opportunities that once intimidated you will now feel attainable because you finally believe you deserve them. Relationships that once drained you will feel unappealing because you now understand your heart is too valuable to be mishandled. You will stop giving your energy to people who only show up when they need something. You will speak with a quiet confidence that doesn't demand attention but draws respect naturally. This is not arrogance, it is alignment. Eventually, you will look at situations you once tolerated and wonder how you ever accepted so little. Not because you blame yourself, but because you now understand the difference between surviving and flourishing. And flourishing requires worthiness. Flourishing requires self-honor. Flourishing requires the courage to believe you deserve more than the bare minimum. Your worth is not being improved. It is being revealed. You are remembering who you truly are. And once this truth settles into your soul, you will never again negotiate your value to earn a place in someone else's life. Your perspective is expanding, quietly, powerfully, irresistibly, because you have reached a point in your journey where your old vision can no longer contain the magnitude of where your spirit is being called, and now you are being lifted into a clarity that allows you to see possibilities that were invisible to you before. For a long time, your view of life was shaped by what you had experienced, and your experiences taught you to be cautious. They taught you to expect difficulties, to anticipate disappointment, to assume good things were temporary or meant for others, not you. You weren't pessimistic, you were conditioned by survival. But survival-based thinking cannot lead you into expansion. It keeps you focused on what might go wrong instead of what could go beautifully right. That is why this elevation is happening now. Your life is shifting, and your vision must expand to match the opportunities ahead. This elevated vision will not arrive overnight. It will unfold gradually, through moments where new ideas spark excitement in your mind, through conversations that broaden your understanding, through experiences that hint at bigger futures. You will notice your imagination becoming clearer, your goals more defined, your inner world more hopeful. This shift is not forced, it is organic. It is your spirit saying, "I am ready for more." It is your intuition whispering, "There is a bigger story unfolding for you." It is your heart recognizing that the dreams you once pushed aside may have been delayed, but they were never denied. As your vision expands, you will start to recognize opportunities hidden in places you once overlooked. You will find solutions that previously seemed impossible. You will sense direction in situations that once felt confusing. Your creativity will flourish. Your courage will strengthen. Your expectations will rise, not because of wishful thinking, but because your inner world is aligning with your future rather than your limitations. When you elevate your vision, you no longer approach life from fear, you approach it from potential. This elevation will also help you release environments, habits, and relationships that shrink your capacity to grow. Not out of anger or judgment, but because you can see clearly that they no longer match where you're going. You will step into spaces that challenge you to rise, that inspire you to stretch, that call you into alignment with your deeper purpose. You will surround yourself with people who think bigger, dream bigger, and support your expansion rather than criticize it. Your life cannot expand unless your vision expands first. And now that your vision is rising, your future is rising with it. Soon, you will look at your life and recognize that what once seemed impossible has become your new normal. Not because circumstances magically changed, but because you finally believed they could. There is a door opening before you, a powerful, life-altering, deeply meaningful door. But what I am preparing for you does not require flawless performance, perfect timing, or unshakable confidence. It requires only your willingness to step forward, even with trembling hands. Perfection has been a silent weight on your shoulders for years. You often waited until you felt fully ready, fully healed, fully strong, fully confident before taking your next step. And when readiness did come in the way you expected, you assumed it was a sign to stay still. But perfection was never the requirement. Availability was. Courage was. Surrender with. And now, in this symbolic divine monologue, I am leading you to understand that the next chapter of your life will not open through perfection, but through your honest, imperfect yes. This door represents transformation. Transformation of identity, transformation of purpose, transformation of relationships, transformation of how you move through the world. Stepping through it may feel intimidating because deep down you sense that once you cross the threshold, your life will not remain the same. That is why hesitation rises. That is why doubt whispers. That is why your mind tries to negotiate reasons to delay. But this door is divinely timed. It is appearing now because you are ready in ways you cannot yet see. You have grown. You have healed. You have shed old identities. You have revealed new strengths. Even if you still feel uncertain, the preparation has already taken place. Once you step through this door, you will notice shifts in how you think, how you speak, how you choose, how you respond. You will feel your confidence grow as you move in alignment rather than fear. You will find peace replacing the inner chaos that once defined your decisions. You will discover opportunities that feel custom-shaped to your gifts and your story. You will meet people who reflect your new identity rather than your old wounds. Everything connected to this transformation will unfold naturally once you say yes. This door is not asking you to be perfect. It is asking you to be present. It is not asking you to know every detail. It is asking you to trust the next step. It is not asking you to perform flawlessly. It is asking you to believe that what is ahead is worth pursuing, even if the pathway is unfamiliar. Transformation does not come when you are flawless. Transformation comes when you are willing. And your willingness, your yes, is what will unlock everything waiting for you on the other side. There is a turning point unfolding around you right now, a moment so divinely timed, so deeply aligned with your growth, and so saturated with purpose that if you were able to see what I see in this symbolic divine perspective, you would understand that your entire life has been quietly leading you toward this very threshold. You have felt this shift approaching for months. The internal discomfort that made old patterns unbearable, the restlessness that pushed you out of familiar places, the subtle sense that something larger was waiting, even if you couldn't yet name it. This feeling wasn't imagination, it was preparation. Every emotional excavation you endured, every boundary you learned to set, every truth you finally embraced has positioned you for a moment where everything in your life begins to align with who you have become rather than who you used to be. You are not standing at another temporary season. You are standing at a defining one, a moment that separates your past from your future with a clarity powerful enough to shift the trajectory of your entire story. This moment is not built on sudden luck or random change. It is built on the foundation of your endurance. It is built on the nights you refused to give up, on the prayers you whispered when no one knew you were breaking, on the healing you fought for even when you felt exhausted, on the courage you showed when fear tried to convince you to stay small. Nothing you endured was wasted. Every hardship sharpened your discernment. Every disappointment refined your desires. Every loss strengthened your resilience. You have been shaped, stretched, humbled, and awakened. And now the weight of the transformation is opening the door into a future that finally reflects the depth of who you are. Stepping into this moment will require your willingness to believe that life can shift for you just as dramatically as it has for others. It will require you to release the lingering doubt that whispers you are not ready or not enough. It will require you to trust the voice within you that says, "This is the time." And it will require you to walk forward without dragging the ghosts of old fears into a future that was never built for them. This moment will challenge the stories you use to tell yourself about what is possible. It will stretch your faith. It will invite you to act with a boldness that feels unfamiliar but necessary. It will ask you to say yes to opportunities that match your identity rather than your insecurity. As you step into this turning point, you will begin to feel a shift in your internal landscape. Decisions that once felt impossible will become clear. Doors that were closed for years will begin to open without resistance. People who drained your energy will quietly fall away, making space for relationships rooted in mutual truth and respect. You will notice signs, confirmations, and synchronicities that remind you that you are being guided, supported, and led. Your inner world will feel lighter, more aligned, more grounded. Even the challenges ahead will feel different, not like obstacles meant to break you, but like stepping stones pulling strength out of you that you never realized you possessed. This moment isn't merely a change in circumstances, it is a change in identity. It is the moment where you step into the fullness of who you were always meant to be. The moment where old versions of yourself release their hold. The moment where the path ahead becomes clearer than the path behind. The moment where the story shifts in your favor. This is the moment where everything changes for you. Not because the world suddenly becomes easier, but because you finally become aligned enough, healed enough, wake enough, and courageous enough to walk into the life that has been waiting for you all along. Amen.